Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Last Thursday. I'm here with my man, Mario. How you doing, Mario?
Pretty good. How are
Yeah,
you?
doing good.
You never call me Mario.
I was just going to say, it's like when I call you Mario, I'm always calling you Bub or Bubba or Baby or something or Garza.
Yes. Other things that we probably can't mention here as well.
Yeah, I probably should leave it at that.
Yeah. I'm doing good though.
Good.
It's
Awesome.
Thursday, so no complaints because it's last Thursday.
Yeah, work week is kind of coming to an end.
Yep.
Slowing down. It's casual day. And we're here for another episode. Happy to be here. What's up, Artist Seer, aka Miri? Nice to see that you are still down in Guatemala. That is a long trip for you, my lady. Hopefully you're having a good one. All right. Cool. Well, who we
Someone
got?
said I forgot my hat.
Oh, yeah. He's usually in a hat, right?
I am. I'm usually in a hat or a beanie. Once the weather gets warm, though, it's usually just hats, no beanies. But I got to remind people what I look like without any headgear. Davin's here. What's up, Davin?
Hey, Davin. Every Thursday. That's right. Last Thursday, every Thursday.
Yes.
Yeah, so thanks for being here, everybody. Well, tonight, as usual, we have a special drink.
We do.
And it was Mario's idea, actually, for this one. But what we have tonight is a carrot, pineapple, ginger, and apple juice.
Nice.
Freshly pressed.
Very cool.
Yeah, very awesome. Very excited. We haven't had carrot juice in a while.
That is delicious.
And it's freaking awesome, as usual. This is one of my favorite juices to make. It's always shocking to me how much fruit
Right.
you need to create juice.
Totally.
I made 32 ounces of juice, and I used 10 carrots. I used a whole pineapple, a medium-sized, smallish pineapple, 2 small apples, and then a pretty good amount of ginger, maybe like a couple inches worth of ginger. But yeah, it always shocks me how much you need. And then it always puts into perspective, thinking about juices at the grocery store, and how much fruit and vegetables it actually takes to like fill a juice aisle. It's kind of insane. And I think about I have those thoughts a lot when I'm at the grocery store, when I look at, the plethora of things and just imagining how many elements it takes to create all this stuff. And I'm in one store out of thousands of stores, thousands and thousands of stores throughout the United States and the world. And it just boggles the mind. It really does. So,
it's true.
Hey,
real quick.
Yeah.
Did you by chance put this on Telegram? Like coming soon or going live in a few minutes? Oh, yeah.
I did. Not in a few minutes, but I put it out maybe like a half hour ago.
Oh,
Should
right
I
on.
just put another one out?
Oh, no. You're good.
Okay.
If you did it recently.
I
within
did
the last hour.
I did it within the last hour.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Just double checking is all.
What I didn't do, though, is I didn't put it out on YouTube, like the community
Oh, you're fine.
post or whatever. But
Yeah. I feel like I look a little yellow. I'm going to adjust it a hair. But you that's pretty, I think that maybe, do you think that looks better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Whichever you feel better with.
I just felt like I was a little too yellow.
Yeah. That's okay.
beforehand. Yeah.
Nice.
I know.
I'm seeing people saying that they were fasting. That's awesome. Fasted all day, had a healthy dinner, now ginger tea. Awesome. Yeah. And doing the 1 meal a day, fasting all month this month. Good job, man. The 1 meal a day is really great. We actually are kind of back on that a little bit too. I just did it was only like a 20-hour fast that I did. Because what I realized is like, I started on Sunday night and then into Monday. And then I'm still adjusting to doing all these live streams, right? And so I have to figure out a new fasting regimen if I'm wanting to do a long-term fast. It's probably going to have to happen on the weekends for me now. But happy to hear you guys are fasting. Fasting is awesome. And I love it too. I feel awesome just from doing that short amount of time. But yeah, longer the better, I feel like. It's good.
Want to tell people about your amazing massage yesterday?
Oh my goodness. Yes, I do. So my friend Vanessa, she is a Ashiatsu massage therapist, and Ashiatsu massage is actually done with the feet. And it's so amazing because there's bars like above her massage table, and so she can support her weight by holding herself up with the bars, and then she can adjust the pressure with her feet. And it is seriously, it's the most amazing, relaxing, beneficial type of massage that I've ever received. And she is very talented and gifted. She is massaging people in the Portland area, outside of Portland, actually, in Milwaukee, Oregon. So anybody who's kind of local, if you're looking to try that type of massage, I highly recommend Vanessa Kapka. And actually, Mario has helped her with the design of her website and some of her other promotional materials, like her brochures and business cards. And she's just a wonderful person, good friend of ours. We've known her for years. And she gave me kind of a coupon for a massage for my birthday this year. And so
that was very nice of her.
It was very thoughtful. And I just cashed it in yesterday.
Right.
And typically when I get out of massages with her or anybody, I'll typically feel very like, almost like dreamlike or relaxed or whatever. And yesterday, I felt super, super energized. Like I left and was like, whoa, I feel great. I feel like a boost of energy. I felt the boost of energy all throughout into the night. And I do attribute it to the fasting I was doing. And then also I've really been keeping my coffee consumption at a very low level. And so I can just tell my body just feels better. And so it's one of those things where I always have to just admit to myself that how much better I feel when I'm not drinking coffee on a regular basis. And the results of that massage, I think, kind of
sometimes
helped.
it's easy to forget too.
It sometimes is until you get kind of back into the habit. For me, it's just being able to break the habit, because once I can break the habit, I've found that I can have it sparsely and I don't get like re-addicted to it. But once I get on a habitual thing of having it every day, that's when it kind of becomes more of a thing for me. So
totally. I even think Vanessa could be someone that you could potentially interview.
I've thought about that if she's into it.
Right.
Yeah. I did think that, and I've thought it a couple times. And if she'd be into something like that, I would totally love to have her on the Healing Home, because she has a lot of great tips, and she's really she has great self-control with her own diet, and she's found just these beautiful ways to understand her body more, and just the type of massage she does. She has to stay in like more physical, like peak physical shape, I feel like, just with the way that you're having to hold your weight up and the pressure that she's using and stuff. But she was doing some things to me yesterday that she's never done before, particularly with my feet, where it was like super intense, where you're just like, oh my God, it's intense, but it hurts so good kind of thing. And like, I could feel my lymph start to move. And like, I instantly started sweating and things like that. Like my body was really moving stuff, and it was great.
Right. I believe it.
Yeah. And so I think that's one of the reasons why there was an energy boost too. My body is just ready for spring, I think.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. Yeah, no, you're right. She does have good upper body strength, because I designed her website, and a lot of the photos that she provided, she's using the bars. And when she's using the bars, you can really see her muscles kind of come out and stuff.
Yeah.
So she's in great shape.
Yeah, she is. She's a strong lady on a lot of levels. So
Indeed.
Shout out to Vanessa.
It's nice to know people like this, right?
It is. Totally. Yeah. And it's nice to just be able to learn these new modalities of healing, because she was the person that actually brought this type of massage into my life. I'd never even heard of it until I met her. So.
Right.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
One thing I'm stoked about that I have to mention is that we now have wired mics.
We do.
And so you guys can't make fun of us anymore, I don't think.
For being karaoke superstars.
Yeah. Because the other ones, they do look a little cheeseball, and they were wireless. And so to me, personally, if you can go the wired route, that is just always the right way to go, in my opinion. So anyways, here we are. We figured it out, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So, there were a couple of small technical issues getting it going, but whatever.
Yeah, but you figured it out, and it's good now.
For people, I mean, this is just more of like a techie sort of thing. Let's see if I can even hold it up without messing around with anything too badly. But these Zoom recorders right here,
up.
Yeah, these Zoom recorders are seriously amazing. I've had mine. This is the H5. So there you could see my levels on it. But it's just so rad. This thing is so versatile. I've used it for so many different things over time, and it's coming in handy once again with the new situation that we have here.
Yeah.
So if you're a production person or a video person or whatever, you could probably get used ones for really cheap now, and it does all sorts of things. I'm not going to go over all of the all the bells and whistles that it's capable of doing, but needless to say, it's come in handy so many times. So anyways,
Yeah, and you've had it for a long time, and it's a nice little device, and it's awesome because you can take it with you really easily.
yeah, totally.
Comes
totally.
with a nice case and stuff, and
It's a rugged little guy too.
yeah, and it's easy to figure out how to use. I mean, Mario has run me through how to use it, but as a person who's not very into technical stuff, once you know how to use it, it's very easy to figure out how to do it.
So Davin's asking, what is that thing? So it's basically it's a handy recorder or a field recorder. So you can use it as a recording device if you're shooting a video or a film or something like that. I've seen that exact same model being used for like kind of more independent productions, but you can hook up mics to it. You could hook up with this one, you could hook up, I think, up to 4 microphones with the right attachments and stuff. And so it just runs off of AA batteries, and then it records it to an SD card. And so you can do that with it. You can hook up boom mics or other mics to it, or it actually has this attachment where you can put microphones on the top that are designed just for that device. But then you could also use it as like a audio interface. So like right now I have it hooked up to my Mac, and so we're using it as the interface between the microphones and then the operating system here. So it comes in handy. They have a lot of really cool products. So people who are like musicians or podcasters or whatever, they have like a whole suite of different things available. So anyways, we're using it right now, and it's working, so
Yeah.
I'm grateful. And they're pretty cheap too, so they almost kind of have like a little cult following for people who are kind of like nerdy techie people, because I don't know, they just do a lot of different things. So you're gonna have to look into it if you're curious, because it performs a lot of different functions. So it's almost like having like a little recording studio sort of device in your hands.
Yeah, and don't they make like mixing boards and stuff too? And
Pretty much,
I'm
yeah.
pretty sure. Yeah, they are like a whole kind of package deal thing.
Yeah. They make all sorts of different things.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so we spent some time outside today, taking care of some things in the garden a little bit. Mostly we were trimming some limbs from different trees and
Yep.
whatever. But it got me thinking about some of what we're going to be talking about today, regarding electroculture.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
so I thought that's a great topic, and I'm
Yeah.
stoked that you're just interested in it these days.
Yeah, and it's been, it's been on my radar for a while. Like I've known about it for years, but it's kind of been back on my radar in the recent times because a friend of mine, or a mutual friend of ours, who's very into dowsing and into like the local dowsing network in Portland, had brought to my attention about using quartz crystal and wrapping it, like coiling it with copper, and using that, like burying it underground and using it as a means to create boundaries on your property. And so she brought this up to me a couple months ago or whatever. And I was like, whoa, that makes so much sense, right? And then I remembered that there is this method of gardening known as electroculture that basically is kind of doing the same thing. And so using copper and or brass, you can actually also use other metals too, to basically pick up on the electromagnetic energies in the air and through the ether, and that brings that down into the like plant roots, and then from the plant roots act as an antenna, as do the leaves act as an antenna, and the plants actually will like grow exponentially when you are tapping into this energy that is basically free to us to use, free energy. the whole kind of concept of that. And so anyway, I've been down the rabbit hole of this because when I remembered it, I was like, oh my goodness, we have to do this year. And, for those who don't know, where we live, it's a pretty big property, but we had shared garden space with one of our neighbors.
Right.
And just to not even get into all the details, basically, long story short.
Please don't.
Long story short, I mean, we ended up deciding because we have different life paths, we see the world differently, we function in the world differently. We had some conflicts with our neighbors. We decided to just, we're just going to split the gardens down the middle. And so basically for us, it's awesome. It's very exciting because we're basically in the process of like reclaiming our space, which we opened up to our neighbor to allow her to, build a greenhouse and have a beehive on our land. So she was constantly kind of coming over, and these conflicts just continued to build, and we kept getting red flags. And so it was finally just like, we need to just cut this off. Like, we don't have to we don't have to be this flexible with people that we don't feel as though are respecting us. And so anyway, it's been very empowering, but it's been very emotional. And it was a very hard process, but now being on the other side of it, we see all the benefits of doing this and the positive things that are coming from it, which is basically being able to really, really, really sink into our property, the side of our property that we actually haven't even been able to do since we moved in.
Yeah.
Because we were sharing it.
Totally.
Which sharing is caring with the right people, and it was great. We learned a lot of lessons, and I wouldn't trade it because no regrets or whatever. But anyway, so it's just been extra exciting to think about all these things. And so then the electroculture stuff came back into my mind and my heart because I'm like, dude, now I don't have to check in with anybody to ask if this is okay, besides you and getting your input. But, we don't have to ask somebody for kind of like permission to do something,
Right. I look at it, I mean, there are so many... In a lot of ways, it was a really beautiful situation because now it's giving this opportunity to kind of reclaim our land and reclaim our space and everything else. And it's just a reminder, too, that like all lessons are Saturnian lessons, seriously.
Yeah.
Because Saturn, most of you guys here, I'm sure, are well aware, but Saturn corresponds with boundaries and limitations and restrictions and all of these different types of things. So I think of like partitions and walls and literal actual like gates and like stuff like that, and so to me it seems like a lot of life's lessons are very, very Saturnian in nature. And so because generally you find that you've either gotten too close to something or too far away from something. And so I think that in this instance, our boundaries were blurred. And so now we're having to reclaim the space literally with actual, like, not like, it's not a crazy thing, but like literal actual like fencing and like kind of like guidelines and like known boundaries of like, hey, yeah, this is going to be like what we do over here now. And you can just stay over there.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. And so that's always empowering.
It is.
When you say no and you put up a boundary and you say stop, that is very empowering when you're doing it for the right reasons, basically.
Right.
And so so what I was going to say is that in some ways I think that, and you were kind of alluding to this, but I think that we were holding ourselves back a little bit. By kind of allowing that situation to be what it was.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
And, one of the things, obviously you and I have talked about this a lot, but, one of the things that Mario and I typically end up talking about is that, him and I are very flexible. And sometimes you can be too flexible. And then the people who are manipulative or want to take advantage of a situation will be able to pick up on that. And then they kind of just continue to, push the boundaries or not be respectful of a boundary, because if you are very flexible and you're just like, yeah, whatever, cool, all right, let's do it. And that's, typically how we like to be, because it's a good way to be it's good to be flexible, but you also then have to remember when the things get blurry, that you have to kind of reclaim structure that Saturn wants you to have.
Right.
And it was a really great Saturnian lesson. So anyway, long story short,
Right.
we're on the other side, and it feels freaking amazing.
Yeah, because now we see all these different potentials with the property and what we could do with it. And I don't know, it's just one of these things where we're becoming more independent with our situation here. And the lines were blurred like pretty much immediately once we moved in.
Yeah, from the get-go.
So for the last 2 years at this place, the lines have been kind of blurred, and now they're very clear. And so it's affording us all of these new opportunities. So yeah, I mean, shoulda, woulda, coulda. I don't really have that opinion about it. It's more so just it's great that we're kind of on the right trajectory now with everything.
Yeah, agreed. And honestly, too, it's like it's been one of the more valuable life lessons that's come through in a while. And for me, now I just know, like, now I'll be able to see these sorts of things so much more clearly moving forward. And I guess that's like the blessing of these sorts of challenging, thank you. Yeah, these challenging situations, it's like, obviously it can be emotional and all that stuff, but boy, oh boy, now I feel more empowered, like, freaking in a lot of ways, and I feel like now I have almost like a different set of tools in my tool belt for in future situations with just dealing with people,
right? Yeah, no, exactly right.
So it's good
for sure. I think it's awesome. I think it's a beautiful thing, seriously.
Yeah. And, again, for me, too, it was really emotional as well because I did bond with her in a lot of ways. And so for me, it's been like a really emotional winter because I had to process a lot of this stuff. And then I was contemplating a lot of these things. And it took me a long time to actually just forgive the situation and then forgive myself and all these things. And once I did that, I had like a huge clearing that happened. And so that's how I also knew that it was the right moves to make. So
totally.
Anyway.
I really am kind of a believer that you're not given obstacles that you kind of can't overcome, I guess, or that the right obstacles or challenges or whatever come your way because you can actually overcome whatever that might be, whatever hurdle it is that's coming your way.
Yeah.
And so I think that this was one of those things where it kind of is the separation is occurring in the best of ways because we now are mature enough to have handled things accordingly to go through something like that, so for a while we kind of were just okay with the situation even though we had our grievances and whatever, but obviously it just reached a point where we can no longer just be cool with that.
Right.
Yeah. So I think we're leveling up because of it.
I think so too. It feels that way. Yeah. So anyway, but one of the other things I just thought of that I kind of wanted to address is from last week. So last week's episode, we talked a lot about orbs and things we've seen in the sky.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And, all of our experiences with sky watching and things like that. And so...
Ooh, and that was before daylight savings, right?
It was.
So now just look how much light's out there.
Yeah, there's tons of light.
Right.
So it's been staying light until, like almost 7, somewhere 7:15-ish or something. And so anyway, last week after the show, a friend of ours reached out to me, and because she had watched she was watching the episode a little later after we had recorded it, she said, "Oh my God, at 45 minutes, there's an orb that flies out of your drink." Like I took a sip of the mead, and then there was an orb or a ball of light that flew out of the drink. And right away, I went right to the video, and I went to the 45-minute mark, and sure enough, there was something there. And then so I backed up the video a little bit. So I think it was maybe around like the 47-minute mark. There is an orb that comes behind both of us, and it goes across the curtain that's behind us. And when you look at the video, you can totally see it. And so I haven't had a chance to actually make a little segment of that video because I thought I kind of wanted to make a little snippet of it and then ask people's opinion about it. But anyway, I really wanted to bring that up because, you know, a lot of the people that are here right now were watching last week. And so I just thought it was really interesting. It was literally as we were talking about our orb
I know
situation.
Right.
And then there's an orb. And I don't know. It's interesting. I love this kind of stuff. And so that's why I wanted to bring it up. And I know a lot of people listening out there are into the same kind of, you know,
she was geeking out about all this.
And then I swear I was just like, oh man. And then I'm like, I could like feel energies. And then I'm just like, whoa, what was it? Was it like the same orb that we saw back in the day? Was it a guardian? And then we talked about it and it's like, well, you'll never quite 100% know, but it does feel ancestral or like a family or
I mean,
something.
That was your hit on it, yeah.
Yeah, like there's some sort of ancestor connection or something going on.
That it was kind of like a good sign, right?
Yeah, it felt more like a good thing. It didn't feel ominous. Exactly. Yes. It didn't feel bad. It didn't feel, you know, whatever. I didn't feel scared necessarily. I just felt more like, whoa. And then I kind of like, I thought about my great grandma before I went to bed. And then I wondered, oh, maybe that's why I thought of the family thing. I don't know. But anyway.
I've never even been an orb person. Like that's kind of like a little niche that you can get into online and kind of looking at orb videos and photos and stuff. And you're right, we talked about it because at ECETI, right, they have like orb photos and whatnot. And then we had our orb experience with the night vision and everything. But I'd be kind of curious what people think about orbs here and what they may or may not be. Because to be honest, I've never even really looked into it that much at all. Really.
Yeah, I guess me either. I mean, after we had our experience, I kind of like it opened up my awareness of them a little more, but I never did any like hardcore research or anything like that.
I'll say that the one coming out of your drink looked like it could have potentially been a bug, and I do remember when we were talking last time that there was like a little white bug sort of thing flying around. But then the other one, the second one that you saw, that's like on the curtain, that looked kind of anomalous. That was something different. That
one was definitely something going on. And the way it floated, it was like, phew, and then just kind of disappeared.
Right.
It's just funny that orb that was behind us came before whatever it was that came out of my drink. So anyway, yes.
But yeah, so that was really cool that she spotted that though.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I look at pretty much most synchronicities as just positive signposts.
Yeah.
You're going in the right direction, or things are kind of unfolding as they should. And so I definitely have more of a, I guess, just kind of like a positive sort of spin with all of it. You know, if you see something and you're like, that's kind of strange, and it makes you think, that's probably a positive signpost.
Right.
Last night, I got one that I didn't even tell you about.
Oh, yeah. Let's hear it.
So I went outside, and I've been, for the last, I don't know how many months. What are people saying?
What's up, Gabe?
What's up, Gabe? How's it going, man?
Yeah, we got new mics. Now they have cords.
Yes. Oh, my God.
Not karaoke stars. Although I could still do some karaoke on this mic.
We could. So my routine, for people who don't know, I've shared it a couple times, I think on Interverse or something. But my routine has been, I get up in the morning, I go outside immediately. I go outside barefoot. And so whether it's snowing or raining or whatever, I go outside barefoot, I ground, and I go pee outside.
And he's been really good about it, by the way.
Yeah, it's completely changed the game for me personally, because it's just to immediately go outside, look at the mountain, see what's going on. It's just amazing. Once you start kind of building these routines, you start noticing all the things, whether or not, birds are chirping or not. And, just knowing whether it's snowing or raining, or if it's misty or foggy or whatever, or really clear. if they're spraying, anything like that.
Yeah.
And so it's been awesome. And so I've been going outside, and then I also go outside in the evening to ground as well before bed sometime. And so I've been doing this, and when I go outside, I acknowledge the stars. And it's rainy a lot where we're located, but when it's clear out, the stars really pop. So if there's no clouds, if it's not raining, if it's not foggy or misty, the stars tend to really pop. And so the North Star, because you guys know I'm such a geek for the North Star, that I always like to look at the North Star, and I know where it's located. I have like a special kind of meditation area in the backyard, and I know exactly where it's located if I'm standing right there. But if I walk a little bit further to the edges of the property, I can see the North Star. So I either have to go to the front yard or I have to go to the side. And so last night I went out almost to the street basically to look at the North Star. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, yep, there it is. Always there, always reliable, And I just like to acknowledge it basically. And I'm also really trying to orient myself with like where Ursa Major is, like in the beginning of the evening, by the end of the evening, and just all of that kind of stuff, right? And so I went out there, looked at the North Star, and I acknowledged the Big Dipper, Ursa Major. And when you know where the North Star is or Ursa Major is, like the end of the actual like cup part of it, like the stars like line up and point towards the North Star. And so I was looking at the Big Dipper and just thinking about all the things I think about with it. And then a plane was flying, and it was flying. I'm like, oh, that's funny. I'm like, that plane is totally going to intersect with the Big Dipper. And it sounds, these types of synchronicities, and it's almost like dreams, where it's like you kind of sense the synchronicity too, but then sometimes when you try and relay it to people like a dream, it just does not have the same quality or effect or whatever. This could be one of those moments, guys. So anyways, but the plane was flying, and I saw that it was going to intersect with the Big Dipper, the exact dipper or the exact constellation or asterism that I was looking at. And it literally flew into the dipper part, the ladle part, the cup part of the Big Dipper.
Interesting.
Which I thought was kind of funny. Of like all the places where it would hit it, it literally went right through the cup of the Big Dipper. And so to me personally, because I was only literally out there to look at the North Star for like, I went out there and within 2 seconds I saw the plane and then it did that thing. And so anyways, I kind of like it when that sort of stuff happens.
No, that's cool.
So I took that as some sort of, I don't know, like I said, like a positive signpost or something. I don't have any grand big things, but I've been feeling lately with us that like on a prosperity sort of level, like our cups are like filling.
Yeah, they are.
So I almost felt like it was symbolic of our cups continuing to fill, basically, with everything.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. And I don't know, it's like the fact that you were out there right at that moment when that happened. I mean, you could have literally gone out a minute later and you would have missed that. So no, I love that stuff.
Totally. So Davin says, peeing outside changed the game. It did for me with whatever my psychology is and what's going on in my heart and soul. It feels primal in the best of ways. And I feel like a connection. I almost feel like you're creating a loop in a way, symbolically too. And kind of like what Topher says about getting right with your water. What would does it make sense for us to send, if you can do it? Does it make sense to send your pee down your system several miles over to get dumped wherever the hell, for whatever to happen to it happens to it? Or if you have space, why would you go anywhere else, or why would you put it anywhere else?
Right.
It kind of overly complicates sort of everything. So on the flip side of this, actually, where I'm at now is I'm just starting to drink more rainwater, basically. Rainwater. And then when we had more snow on the ground, I was really, I kind of built a relationship with the snow, I would say, this winter.
Yeah, you did.
Versus last winter, So to me, it's just like kind of keeping everything local if you can. And so there's a lot to be said about kind of modern plumbing and stuff like that, and like what is potentially going on with both what's coming into your home and what's leaving your home. It's pretty much out of sight, out of mind for most people. And so there's something about reclaiming this instead of just going to the bathroom and turning on a light and just doing my business and flushing it down the toilet. I feel like going outside and seeing like the steam from my piss, like, it just feels like I'm camping. It feels more natural. Like there's everything about it. I feel like it has warmed my soul and my heart, I would say.
No, I know it has. I can tell a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, exactly. So I like this. I like Hank is saying here he hasn't peed inside in decades.
Hell yeah, man.
And we know Hank, and I believe him. He looks like he has not peed inside in decades. That's for sure.
But in all the best of ways.
Yeah, of course. In the best of ways. Absolutely. Always we on the grass.
Yeah.
Cool. Some people are into it. Nice, Mario. Nice. Gabe said he peed outside 15 minutes ago. I'm happy to hear it, guys. Seriously. It sounds so simple, but it is done. I wouldn't say done wonders. It's been it's allowed me a lot of new opportunities.
Yeah.
And it's kind of changed how it's changed my relationship with the outdoors a little bit more. So like I'm grounding way more than I ever have before. And to me, I'm almost just kind of like, I can't believe like I waited this long. I mean, I don't regret it. I don't feel guilty or whatever.
Right.
But it's just one of those things where it's like the simplest solutions sometimes make big differences.
Usually always.
Right?
That's usually always how it goes. Yeah, I mean, I also love to pee outside as well, and I mean, yeah, it's freaking awesome. It's always been one of my favorite things when you're out and about camping and stuff like that. So, yeah, but it's good. It's nice to be in a place where you have enough privacy to do it, and you don't feel like you're, whatever, gonna be caught in the act or something.
Pedro said, "What's up, dude?" That he peed in a customer's backyard today.
God, nice.
Winky face. So it was a sneaky pee, it sounds like.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. For sure. You key into your environment big time when going to the bathroom. Yeah, absolutely right.
Well, and one of the other things too, and I know I've heard James of Family Fungi say this, of just like peeing in your garden. And that's one of the other things. We were talking about gardening before. But yeah, because you're actually then claiming your land a little bit more. You're like literally putting your DNA down into the ground. And specifically with the garden, that's awesome because then the crops, everything you grow is going to be tuned more to you. So anyway, yeah, I think it's awesome.
Right. And then I don't even know that much about this. I know we have a friend, Mari. She got into it, but then there's the whole entire thing too about your urine having beneficial properties to it.
Oh yeah, urine therapy.
And that it's like a custom tincture for you and your system and everything else. And so I don't know. I personally have not tried that. I can't say I'm opposed to it. Dude, there's people who get like angry when they're like, I can't believe you do that. It's clearly waste and this and that and whatever. And then other people swear by it.
Yeah.
And so it's a very divisive sort of thing, which I have yet to partake in.
Well, and I know you can use it like even in your hair and on your skin and stuff. And then there's the whole thing with if you're stung by a jellyfish, you can like supposedly, pee on the sting or have maybe a loved one pee on it, and it's supposed to neutralize it or something like that. I mean, I don't have experience with it, but it's one of the things that I've heard.
I'm not saying that this means it's like effective, but look at all of the other things that they tell us are dangerous or that we don't know the beneficial properties of, like weeds or something.
Mm-hmm. Right.
How many weeds are actually medicine?
Oh, almost all of them.
And so then people just weed whack them and they spray them with Roundup or whatever.
Right.
And so I just wonder, it makes me wonder if urine is actually one of those types of things.
Yeah.
So again, I'm not speaking from experience, so I can't really say anything.
Yeah. I mean, Amanda Vollmer, she's like one of the biggest promoters of it, for sure. I have not tried it yet, but maybe someday.
I can tell your lips are getting kind of a little carrot-like. Can you see? Just barely a hair.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Thanks.
So back to electroculture.
Yes. Okay. So electroculture, we kind of talked about it in the beginning. So anyone who wasn't here in the beginning, electroculture is basically the practice of using particularly copper or brass in your garden as an antenna to bring in more of the etheric electromagnetic energy that is free to us to use in the air and on the plane of the earth. And so this is a super old tradition. This kind of goes back to like Tartarian times as well. Think the steeples of some of these buildings and stuff, how they're basically, being able to harness this energy. It's basically the same type of it's basically the same idea. And so this came back on my radar because of our whole garden thing. And then our friend Regina brought up how you can coil quartz crystals with copper, bury it in the ground, and then you can kind of border off your property. And what you would do with that is that you bury the crystals that are coiled with the copper, and then you're basically like walking the perimeter clockwise, depending on what hemisphere you're in. Northern hemisphere, you're wanting to do clockwise, and southern hemisphere counter. And you create a charge by walking. So you walking creates the charge. You walking creates the boundary. And then it's also an energetic thing too, So I was like, I'm going to do that this year. And then I started remembering when I had learned about the electroculture stuff in this book, actually. So this is Old Time Gardening Wisdom, Jerry Barker, I think his name is. Yeah. This is a fantastic book. So it's basically his Baker. Jerry Baker. So it's his retelling the lessons and the recipes, the stories of his grandmother and all of the traditions she had in the garden. And one of the sections of this book is about electroculture. And I remember when I first read it, and this was years ago, I got that book like, oh my goodness. I mean, maybe 8 years ago or something like that. And when I first read it, that was when I first learned about it. And then the other thing about it is that basically when there's like an electric storm, a lightning storm, a thunderstorm or whatever, that is when obviously all the static electricity is heightened. So plants get a supercharge when there's an electrical storm or a lightning storm. And so if you're incorporating these metals into the garden, you're bringing in all this energy into the plants. And so, when you see like a 300-pound pumpkin or, whatever, a lot of those people are following the electroculture traditions of gardening. So basically,
I love that. When you told me that, I was like, that makes so much sense. And then it got me thinking about occult farming and esoteric farming and the different practices that I think some farmers are still using, but it's obviously it's not normie Monsanto farming, obviously.
Yeah. No.
It's very, very different. And so we know people that are like that. Like I think of Ben Balderson, where I'm just like, he's like an occultist, but he has his shit going on.
Right.
He might consider himself more of an alchemist, obviously, but I love what this is opening up for you. And I just love the topic of it. And I love how it's incorporating metals and kind of like more etheric spiritual sort of technology, which kind of reminds me of the essence sort of thing, the essence sort of angle with medicine, whatever, which we'll get into in a bit. But
yeah,
what were you gonna say?
I think it was over here. It was something in my notes. I don't quite remember. I kind of lost it, but I'm sure it'll come back.
So I just want to say, I think it's really interesting that copper seems to be the main thing here, right? The main metal.
Yeah.
And then brass is mostly copper.
Yeah, copper and zinc.
Yeah. So it's 2/3 copper and then 1/3 zinc. And so copper's relationship with Venus is really interesting. Venus's relationship with Earth is really interesting. When you see like a pentacle in a sigil or in a work of art, to me, the people in the know, they're using it as a direct reference to Venus. And this gets into the whole thing with Venus. From the perspective of Earth, if you track Venus, I believe it's 8 years, that over the course of 8 years, Venus makes a pentagram in the sky. And so they call it the Venus rose or the Venus pentagram. I think sometimes they call it the kiss of Venus as well. And so when you're looking at a 5-pointed star, a pentagram, that is definitely a Venusian reference. And so Venus has this really interesting correspondence with Earth. It's beautiful that way. I'm thinking even of like the Empress card. A lot of
Yeah.
times the Empress card, she has a symbol of Venus on like a heart, like the Rider-Waite. I believe that's kind of the setup or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And she usually looks like she's expecting.
Yeah, fertility.
Fertility, which reminds me of the soil and just all of that kind of stuff. And so the fact that copper would be the metal of choice, I think symbolically is beautiful.
I think so too. And I think of abundance, and then I just think about how these electrical charges are going to come into your crops and like make them bountiful and beautiful and abundant and grow large. And there's like there's kind of like a voluptuous energy that comes from Venus, in my opinion, you know? And it's so cool. And I am so pumped to be applying these practices. And so one of the guys that I came across, actually I just found him last night because I started doing more research on it, right? And you can find stuff online, obviously, and there's people on YouTube doing videos and stuff, but a lot of the actual original OG people who were speaking out about this stuff, all of their books were basically like burned. And they were basically just like anything that's alternative like this that actually has benefit, that doesn't rely on the system so much, gets shelved and gets suppressed, right? And so this guy Matt Roski I came across, and he has a business with his wife called Cultivate and Elevate, and he is being pretty active online about and talking about this stuff and talking about Tartaria and all the connections with that and the electroculture stuff. And he's done a lot of research. And so I contacted him, and I'm hoping to be able to get an interview with him, and then seeing. Thank you, Lou. Ken Wheeler, I guess, talks about this. So maybe he's another guy I should reach out to, because
he's pretty big.
Yeah, well,
I don't know how accessible he is, but if any of us, or between the two of us, if we could talk to him, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
dude is really smart. Do you know what he looks like, or you do anything?
I've heard his name, but I don't know what he looks like.
Yeah, he has a big following for sure. So I don't know if he would be accessible, but
we'll see.
Obviously,
either way,
you should look into him regardless, babe.
I do want to interview somebody that's really actively working on this.
That's cool, dude.
Yeah, see, that is what I heard, Hank, and I have a couple houseplants that that I brought in like from outside for the winter, and it's actually white sage, and they did not make it. And so I'm like, oh, I want to see if I can bring the white sage back doing the electroculture, and I hopefully I can, but we'll see. But so this guy Matt Roski, he was talking about how, so one of the metals that actually will block these energies is freaking iron. And then we were talking about iron last night, and he was talking about how iron, if you look at some of these major pesticides that they use in the kind of more industrialized farming, it's really heavy in irons. So, I mean, it's basic, just like the inversions of everything. It's like they're literally spraying crops and industrialized farms with the thing that suppresses growth and suppresses life in plants. And then they just continuously spray and use fertilizer and all this stuff. And all the people that I've been looking into are talking about how, you know, when you're doing the electroculture stuff, it's like you even need less water. Your plants are more resistant to drought. The roots grow deeper, so they're able to find groundwater even better.
Wow.
I mean, it's almost like such an abundant amount of benefits that it is one of those things that it's no wonder they've suppressed this. But anyway, we're gonna do it. Hell yeah. You know, we did, like we said, we did some trimming today, and there was like a small maple tree that had been growing in the garden, and I love it, but it creates shade in an unnecessary spot. So we actually took it down, and then instead of chopping it all up, we kept it whole. And so I'm going to use both of those pieces as really tall antenna to be able to wrap the copper, and then they splay out. There's branches that are splaying out, and that's one of the things too. You want to create like a couple bigger antenna towers in the garden, and then you can do like small coils throughout the beds, and you can run lines of copper. There's all sorts of options. You can get creative,
So you're talking about kind of like church towers or steeples.
Yes.
And some of that technology, right? The Antiquitech kind of technology. And I'm going to go out on a little bit of a limb here.
Yeah.
But it is last Thursday. So I feel like that.
Limbs must be gone out onto last Thursday.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
So, guys, my hunch with a lot of this stuff is that a lot of older technology that people refer to as Antiquitech, potentially also, I would say maybe Tesla technology, pyramid technology, perhaps. My strong hunch is that a lot of this technology. Cool. I want to hear people's stories about this.
Me
this
too.
Is so awesome.
Yeah, if anybody out there, if people have experiences, throw them up in the chat. Because, yeah, I'd love to talk to people who have done it and are doing it. And
yes,
obviously Hank had some, experience too with the house plants and stuff. So
super cool, guys.
Yeah.
And honestly, please give us tips or resources or anything that we might want to look into. Hey there.
What's up, Ashley?
So my personal opinion, because I remember looking into the church steeple thing and some of these towers, and I came across, I'm sure some of you guys have too, and I'm sure I would not be surprised if there's people here in the chat who know more about this than myself. But there were a few occasions where the top of a tower had a little statue of Mercury on it. And Mercury Hermes, he was holding up his caduceus. He was kind of on one foot, and it looked like he was about to take off or something like that. And I've been geeking out on everything mercurial lately, right? And
yeah, you kind of always are.
Yeah, it's true. But I think Mercury is such a huge key to understanding a lot of occult secrets and magical secrets and whatever. And so there's a reason why, as I said last night on Vibrant, Mercury is revered by so many different esoteric groups and lodge groups and stuff like that for good reason. And it has a lot to do with integrating, I think, the different halves of self, your complete self. And so basically all of that is to say is that one of the hunches that I get with older Antiquitech type technology and Tesla technology, a lot of it is tower based, or a lot of it is like based around some sort of pole or something along these lines on the top of a large building or what have you, right? Generating technology, a lot of them look like antennas.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so either giving energy, receiving energy, etheric sort of energy, perhaps. I don't claim to know all of the ins and outs with everything. But I would not be surprised if this technology has a lot to do with basically people's understanding of how energy worked, how science really worked, how like metaphysics actually works in the geocentric era. And that these technologies were more known in a geocentric context, because with geocentrism, the one of the lessons that I keep on getting with it is that everything becomes more local. Everything comes closer to home. So in a heliocentric worldview, you're always taught about going to outer space and being concerned with these planets and how big they are and how far they are away. And you're encouraged to think about what it would be like to go to other planets and all of that. And then you're also taught that you live in this vast expanse of like nothingness, and that we're just a tiny little pale blue dot on planet Earth, and that we're basically insignificant, and that everything came to be through sheer coincidence or randomness or whatever, and that the universe is dead. This is what heliocentrism teaches, in my opinion. Geocentrism, it's like the exact opposite. It's like, no, you are on center stage. This is it. Like, this place is it. the earth isn't spinning, but the heavens are spinning.
Mm-hmm.
And there's more of a reverence, as I've been going on about, with the North Star, the northern sky, the churning of the cosmos, the cosmic axis, the North Pole, things like that. But because of that, there's also a reverence to your own sacred center within. But if you are trying to mirror the cosmos, you see it that your property or land has a sacred center that maybe has your family tree on it,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, and that your region has a sacred center, and that you're tuned into your sacred center. So geocentrism promotes returning to self in the best of ways, in my opinion, right? And understanding self, and getting closer to your personal true north. Okay. And so all of the old technology that people like to talk about, the Antiquitech sort of stuff, it's about generating energy right there, wherever that device might be, wherever these coils might be, or wherever the electroculture wrapped crystals might be, so it's a lot more about generating from within locally, instead of having to go out and get energy from everywhere else.
Yeah,
the,
right.
the system that we have now, they want you're basically forced to be on some sort of gridded system. So you're getting energy from who knows where, having it be wired to your home. They don't want you to be independent. So I just see a direct relationship between heliocentrism and being dependent on things outside of self, and being concerned with things outside of self, and geocentrism and being independent with self, but also generating energy and generating abundance from within, like your homestead or from within your region or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of these old technologies kind of, to me, speak to a little bit.
Right.
That you don't have to go out and buy whatever, a specialty something to put on your crops. You don't have to do, there's a lot of things that you could do to benefit your situation and to generate abundance and prosperity without literally having to depend on other organizations or big companies or whatever. So anyways, I don't know if that all made sense.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah?
it totally
Cool.
does.
All right.
And
It was a little bit of a ramble there. But
no, it's okay. I mean, I think it's good because you're right. And, this goes along with everything, not just gardening.
Exactly. Exactly, right.
They're wanting you to be dependent on everything. And so everything outside of yourself, and that's why this guy that I've just come across, he's talking all about this kind of stuff and like promoting people to do the electroculture stuff because, the more you're able to grow, the more you're able to preserve food. What's up, Gordy? The more you're able to just take your power back in that way, the less obviously dependent you're going to be on having to go to the grocery store and then even worry about these supposed food shortages that are coming down the pipeline or whatever, the created.
Exactly.
It's created. It's created scarcity. It's created shortages, whatever, dude. I mean, they've been playing this card for a long time. And ever since 2020 is just like, now they really ramp it up. Okay, now it's eggs. Now it's this. Now it's that. It's like, okay, whatever they're gonna freaking hold back from people.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Ashley, she says, in school they pushed more spacecraft than learning about Earth. That's what blows my mind.
Yeah.
Now that I've kind of come out of, now that I've unlearned a lot of what I learned in school, I just can't believe it. Where I'm like, the Earth is the ground we walk on. The Earth is where we sow our seeds for food. The Earth is what provides basically everything for us.
Yeah.
And yet it is in many ways undervalued. And yet these all of these external planets and space travel and the sun, I think in a lot of ways are way more emphasized. And so to me, when I speak about polar symbolism, North Star symbolism and stuff, I feel like I need to emphasize it more, but there's a direct relationship with all of that stuff and the ground we walk on, the earth that we walk on.
Yeah.
You know, the center stage in which we all live, basically. And so I see a direct correspondence there that's pretty clear to me. And I think me going outside in the morning and grounding and all the stuff that I talked about earlier, it's helped me kind of reveal even more insights about that and how crazy it is that we're like detached from Earth in so many different ways.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah. No, totally. And obviously, us living further out from the city too has taught us a lot of things too. You know, and then anytime I go in to run errands, you know, I'm just like, holy moly! The amount of people that are here and just all dependent on these services that are really close to home and everything, and they haven't. You know, it is what it is. Everybody is on a different path, right? But it's just it's an intense energy, and when you get out of it, and then you start to realize and really apply these lessons that like we've been learning over the many years, it's very rewarding, and you get to kind of really see, I think, like why we're actually some of the more deeper purposes as to why we are here, and I think it's learning a lot of the things that we and a lot of people in the chat are learning and then applying to their lives.
Totally. So Annie says, be cautious burying crystals wrapped with copper. I buried 4 big copper wrapped quartz crystals in my yard for 3 days, and a few weeks later, lightning hit the house.
Oh, snap.
Interesting.
Okay. That's a really good tip. Thank you, Annie. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
She says, sometimes I just do stuff willy-nilly. And then I like the emoji of...
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome, but not awesome that lightning hit your house. Yeah. Wow. That's awesome. That's a good tip. Yeah, Definitely. I'll keep that in mind because, yeah, I'm not, you know, I wonder too, it's like even if I didn't wrap the crystals or if I just use copper or whatever, still doing the boundary thing and even it being more symbolic too. And like, you know, just having that energy circling the property, I think could be a really good practice. And one of the things we actually talked about last summer, and we actually never really did it, but doing perimeter walks of the property, like every night, you know, at dusk or whatever. And that's very common practice for people who live out in the country or whatever. And it's not like our property isn't so huge that it's like, oh, we do a perimeter walk and it's like this huge, big ordeal, you know, but it would be good. It's a good practice because then it not only connects you to the land more, it just keeps you focused on what's actually really happening in the moment. You are able to check in on things, you know, on a nightly basis that maybe you didn't catch during the day, and you can see something when things are kind of like, you know, everything's kind of coming down to a close.
You're being vigilant.
Yeah.
So you know what's going on your property and all of that. And obviously the larger the property you have, the more unknown things can happen when you're not around or whatever. Yeah,
and there's areas, I mean, even here, there's areas where, you know, you wouldn't see, there's things you wouldn't see unless you were literally walking right up on it. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like I want to give a little bit of a shout out to Topher.
Oh, yeah.
Because his understanding of living in harmony with nature, which this is really what it's all about. And I really like the way he put it. It's like, if you listen and you understand how nature operates and works and what it wants, like you guys can like dance together. Like you know what I mean? Like there can be this beautiful symbiotic relationship and it just wants to thrive for you because you understand what it wants, you know?
Yeah.
So almost
right.
like
You're
a lady,
in.
Right? And so anyway, but the way he puts it and what he talks about, he's just so next level that I have yet to really dive into a lot of his interviews and his body of work and even his show. But the few interviews I have listened to with him and Chance, dude, it is awesome. So I think I'm going to reach out to him at some point and invite him on.
You should.
And he builds dome homes, and he's working on one right now, I believe, for himself. I don't think it's for a client. I could be mistaken. But that's what he does. That's one of the things he does, at least.
Yeah.
And his awareness of the materials that you put into the dome, where you put it, how you flow water into the home, that there's just from top to bottom, everything from even like I think his dome is going to be there's like 2 levels to it, but the first floor is what you sleep on because you want to be closer to the earth.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And he's actually grounding the whole entire home too. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he might even be grounding like specifically the bedroom or something like that. But all of the things that he mentioned, I was just like, I was blown away. I thought it was really cool and super, super impressive. So I believe his website is Topher HQ. So topherhq.com, and he has a show, and I really, really respect him from what I've heard with everything. Very inspirational stuff, to say the least.
Yeah, and he has his energy is so kind and warm, and you can just feel his essence kind of while he speaks and stuff. He's to me, he comes off as like a very gentle soul, and it's just always nice when you come across people like that and you can feel that energy coming off of them, even when you're just watching them on a screen, right?
Yeah,
and he has that going on. And you mentioned the bedroom, and it made me think about the electroculture stuff too, because not only can you use the copper practices like in the garden and whatever, but you can use it in the home, and specifically like in places like your bedroom or whatever. So, there's the whole pyramid power kind of thing where you're creating copper pyramids, or maybe like having it over the bed, or, whatever. But, another guy, I don't know his name off the top of my head, but he's from Italy. And he also is another person I came across with the electroculture stuff. And he was just talking about how if you have the ability to build a home from ground up, I mean, that is your best shot at being able to incorporate stuff like what Topher's doing, and then the electroculture stuff. So you can incorporate all these practices, if you have the chance to do something like that. But you can also do it if you're in a home that you haven't built, right? Yeah, he really is. Oh my goodness. It's really cool to see.
I like that. A tender power healer.
Yes,
for sure.
That's a great way of putting it. That's how he feels. Tender. That's a good way of describing his energy. One
of the things he reminded me of, because he's making these dome homes and he has all of these amazing things to say about dome structures. Like, as an example, I know he's built several throughout his career or whatever, and I don't know the ins and outs of how many he's made or what have you, but he made one, I believe, in Costa Rica. And then he didn't see it, or nobody was there, I don't think, for a couple of years or something like that. And then he went back, and he was just saying that if you abandon a house, a normal house, stick-built homes, lots of square angles and everything, there's going to be cobwebs, there's going to be bugs, you're going to have to like sweep, and it's just going to get probably dusty and whatever. He was saying the dome structure didn't have any of that stuff.
Yeah, makes sense.
Because there's no corners, and there's no right angles for them to kind of just like whatever, lay eggs, or like
or have webs and
have webs and everything else. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So he was saying that he was even surprised. He was like, yeah, it's like you go in there, and he was like, I had to do like minimal or no cleanup at all.
Right.
And he goes, that's the power of the dome, because everything is just flowing. And then I want to talk to him because of the Northern symbolism stuff and the sacred center stuff. So it's like, as he's showing some of his designs, I'm like, dude, this is everything that I've been geeking out on. The top of a dome is symbolic of the North Star. It's symbolic of the vault of heaven.
Yeah.
So it's to me, it makes a lot of sense that it would be very strong, and that there would be all sorts of benefits from living in a dome home. And it kind of goes back to a lot of what I've been kind of saying lately about how you want to mirror your cosmology on Earth. So that's what the ancients used to do. So they thought that we lived in a dome. They thought that the North Star was in the center of the sky, or whatever the pole star was at the time, and everything revolved around it. And so they structured their world like that. They structured their home like that. So you lived in a circular home, and the hearth was in the middle of your home, and then there was an opening at the top of the dome, or of the hut or teepee or whatever. And it's like, literally, I have books in my library where they say that this was a direct reference to like a geocentric northern-based cosmology.
Yeah,
that's what they're mirroring with everything.
Makes sense.
And so now we just live in a squared off environment, and it just, in my opinion, just the design of our homes now, everything is thrown off. Everything is thrown off. And I think that in some ways it's by design, and I think in some ways it's kind of organic, but I think we would probably be better off living in something that's a little more circular.
I think so. What's up, Rachel?
Hey, Rachel.
Good to see you, my lady.
Yeah. So let's see what's going on in the chat.
Okay, go for it. Go on through. Yeah, the circular home thing. And I've always been super attracted to yurts.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Oh, my goodness.
Right.
And yurts. We will live in a yurt one day. It is in my blood to make that happen somehow. And yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Ah.
Yep. Yes, right, totally. People like the dome thing.
And then when I interviewed Kyle of Tippy Canoe Herbs on my show on the Healing Home, he talked about that too, because we talked about basically the Siberian traditions of the winter solstice and the Amanita mushroom, and how they famously live in like yurts that are built to be in cold weather, and they were entering the home from the top. And then as we learned,
when it was snowy out.
Yes, when it's too snowy, like when the snow is tall enough where you could like literally just walk up to your roof.
Yeah, I love that.
Because you can't get through the door.
Which, just to say, I mean, I'm sure people can just make the quick connection, but the whole idea of Santa coming through the roof, through the chimney, that's more than likely where it came from, right?
Yeah. Oh, yes, yeah, and then just holding on to the North.
Yes,
the North Pole, and he's the man of the North. And the Eskimos doing the same thing, and how we learned that with their igloos.
Totally. Hey, Annie, that's really interesting. The letter D from the tribe of Dan, Dun. Is the D a sideways dome?
Oh,
I think the D might be a sideways dome.
Is.
Gabe, what do you think about that? Is the D a sideways dome?
Dude, yes.
That's exactly what it looks like.
Look at it. Now I'm seeing it. Now I'm rotating it.
Right.
In my mind.
Right. That's a good one.
That is a good one. And you're rotating it 90 degrees. Rotate it 90 degrees to the left, and then it goes to a dome, baby. Yeah, that's awesome. My God. Yeah.
I love that.
That's a really, really good connection there.
Okay. So we're getting confirmation. Annie says yes. That is the deal. So yeah, I think that is the deal. Holy shit, I've never considered that before. Wow, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, and then Slick is saying yes, loves it. Half Moon, Sunseed, totally.
Ooh.
Yep, that's a good one,
Jake,
too.
I've never heard of the dome symbolism or imagery coming up with DMT trips.
Oh.
That's really interesting. Actually, we just tried it for the first time 4, 5, 6 months ago or something.
It was Thanksgiving.
Okay, so November.
Yeah.
And it didn't do anything for us.
No, but
it wasn't the real deal. So there's a few things with that. Is that it was a vape pen,
right?
That had been purchased,
and it's old,
like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah,
but it was never used, and the person who purchased it never used it either.
Right.
And then we all came together, gave it a shot, and the friend who bought the pen, she felt something.
Yeah, she did. She totally did.
So she didn't like go to like outer space or anything. Or inner space, I guess.
I was gonna say she can't go to outer space.
And
baby.
so she didn't like, have like this complete like transcendental experience, but she tripped a little bit, I guess. And then, man, no matter how much I sucked on that thing, nothing happened. I don't know what the deal is.
Yeah, same here. And honestly, it kind of wasn't as pleasant as I wanted it to be. I don't know if anybody out there has ever done the DMT through a vape pen. Maybe you guys can confirm this or whatever, but it tasted like mothballs. Like, I've never tasted a mothball, but you know how you smell something and it tastes like it smells or whatever? Dude, it straight up was like mothball, and I just got like a headache kind of thing. So I don't know. And I'm skeptical of the vape pen thing, because who knows what's in there. I mean, we tried it anyway, because we both have really been wanting to try DMT. And so I'd like to actually do the real deal, though, like with, however, because basically
it's the traditional preparation.
Whatever the traditional preparation of it is, I'd like to do it. But I would like to do more research too on how DMT wants to be consumed, because just like, and I talked about this on Vibrant like last September, but you know, dude, what was I gonna say? Salvia. So a lot of people know about smoking salvia, and it's a wild trip, and it is. I've done it, and whoa, it was nuts. And I learned later that salvia divinorum, I'm pretty sure the Latin name is, it does not like to be combusted. It doesn't like flame.
I remember you saying that. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it does not like, that is not the energy that it wants. It doesn't want to be, it doesn't need flame put to it to give you the you know, the out of body experience. It actually would rather be brewed into a tea. And so now that I know that, it's like, okay, so the next time I try salvia, which I know I'll try it again at some point, I'm going to do a tea of it and not smoke it. And so it's funny because you hear that's how everybody ends up doing salvia, is they smoke it, and they have these wild, very intense, lots of times terrifying trips. Well, it's because the plant doesn't want to be lit on fire. It wants to be brewed gently into a tea and and like slowly consumed, because it's a plant of Mexico. And a lot of times too, they would even just like eat the leaf. You can like eat the leaves, from what I remember. And so anyway, I want to know how DMT really wants to be consumed in that form, and then go from there with it. Because I think that when you're checking in with the plants and figuring out how they want to commune with you, then you can commune with them correctly. Yeah. And then you're going to get like the most beneficial
It's exactly
experience.
like what I was saying that Topher mentioned, that is just like something that you could intuitively learn, obviously, but working with nature.
Yeah.
Not working against it.
Exactly.
What does it want?
Yes.
And you're not going to know what it wants unless you listen and pay attention, right? And kind of do that. So anyway.
And that's the biggest lesson. Think of your mother. What is your mother, you know, like, listen to your mother. You know, not all mothers have the best advice or whatever, but a lot of times mother knows best or whatever. I think of these things when I think about nature, or I go out hiking or whatever, when I feel like I'm getting, you know, messages come through or whatever. You know, it's wise a lot of times to listen to your mother, and then you take the advice that you feel is best suited for you, and you can leave the rest or whatever. But anyway, that's just something that came to mind.
No, totally.
Yeah.
So you guys should talk about this. So Gordy, I assume you've given it a shot, but also might as well just plug it now. But Michelle's going to be talking to Gordy Two Shoes over here on Tuesday.
Yep.
And I call him the Owl Whisperer. I don't know what he likes to call himself. But you guys should definitely get into that. That would be interesting.
Yeah, I have a lot of things. I know that we can go in all sorts of directions, Gordy, so it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, he's a good one.
Yes, chewed or brewed. There you go. Yep, I like it. And actually, salvia is one of the plants I'm going to try the electroculture stuff with inside, because I had a salvia plant that's just never done very well, and it's kind of a picky plant. You know, it likes warmth and things like that.
And he says, I was shown a giant grinder for humans on salvia. Thought I was going to die.
Oh.
Damn, that sounds intense.
Whoa, dude. Okay. Can I share my trip story of salvia?
It is last Thursday. This is your channel, so I'll allow it.
Okay.
This time, okay?
All right. Well, it's our show, though, so I'll check it.
No, of course. Go for it.
Okay. So, salvia trip in a quick thing.
Big inhale.
Yeah. Okay, because you saying that there was a grinder, I'm just like, whoa. Okay. So just preface, when I had my salvia trip, I was much younger, in a different place in my life, more in party mode. So just that as a preface. So I was like, I think it was like 25. Okay. And so, anyway, the house I was living in, we had a neighbor that lived in the basement. And my friend Goldie and I were upstairs, and the neighbor came upstairs and was like, hey, do you guys want to try some salvia? And I had never even really heard of it. And whatever. I was like, well, sure. We both said sure, whatever. So anyway, we smoked it. And then I didn't know that you were going to like basically pass out kind of thing. But I remember, you know, my vision kind of went like it vibrated, and then boom, I was in. And when I got into the trip, I literally was on the set of like a game show.
Oh yeah, I remember this.
It's such a trip. Like when I tell the story, I even get like flutters because it was so intense. So I'm on the set of a game show, and you know how there's like on the game show they have like the lights that flash like applause, applause, applause.
Oh yeah.
There was a light like that, and it was flashing applause, and I could hear like the track laughter in the background. And I was on the stage, and there was a guy on the stage there with me, and he kept opening and closing a door, and he was like, "This is your life. This is your life. This is your
Wow.
life. This is your life." And as that happened and I heard the track laughter, I had this overwhelming sense of sadness that I was like never, ever, ever going to see any of the people in my life ever again. And I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to them. And I had this deep sense of longing of like, oh my God, like I'm never going to be able to say goodbye to my dad or my mom or my brother or anybody, any of my friends or family. And it got really dark, you know, for me there. And then once I had that feeling, I like kind of came out of it. And how our living room was set up is that I had like a ton of records, of vinyl records at the time. And we had this trellis set up that like divided the room. And on one side of the trellis was my shelf of records. And when I came out of it, I like stood up and I grabbed the trellis, and I kind of freaked out. Like I didn't know where I was. So I grabbed the trellis and I pulled the whole thing down, and all of the records fell everywhere. And it was like a huge thing.
Oh, dang.
And it was just like, whoa. So it was like, not only was it a huge trip, intense in the Selvia trip, as I came out, it was also just like, then it was just like, holy crap, all my records are everywhere. What just happened? I don't know where I was, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I figured I'll just tell it because we're talking Selvia.
How long in real life is the trip, and then how long did it feel?
I mean, it felt long, but from what I was told, it was like 15 minutes. Or maybe it was less. I can't even remember the time that they told me. It was probably less than 15 minutes. But whoever, you know, my buddies who were there were like, I was like, how long was I gone? They're like, oh, not very long. And I don't really remember like how long I was gone or whatever.
It could have even been way shorter than that.
It was probably way shorter than 15 minutes. It maybe felt like that. Maybe it felt like that in the trip for me or something when I came out. But anyway.
Wow.
Yeah, it was intense, man. And it's very vivid. Like I remember it so clearly.
Right.
But that game show thing was like really wild.
Totally.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We could totally, I mean, she loves hearing trip reports.
I do.
So if any of you guys have any good trip reports, maybe we can interview you sometime on a last Thursday.
Yeah. And then also, I think what would be a good idea for the show would be to actually Lucas Elsie King suggested it in the chat, I think last week or the week before, but having a call-in line, kind of like what Chance does for Vibrant. I really like that idea, how people can like leave us a voicemail. I think that would be cool. So
I also think too, I don't know if you would be open to it, but maybe one of these days we just literally open it up and it's like, who wants to join us?
Oh yeah, I'd love that.
And then we could literally comb the chat, and if somebody wants to join us because they have something to say, then we could just send them the StreamYard link.
Send them the link. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, we should actually plan that.
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah, well, we'll announce that. We'll announce that to people. Like if we're planning on doing it, maybe we'll announce it a day or two before so people could prepare if they wanted to do something like that.
Right, so they can take a shower and stuff.
Yeah.
And put on clothes and whatever.
Yeah.
Right, gotcha, okay.
I saw somebody throw up San Pedro in the chat. I think it may have been Annie. Yeah, I'm very intrigued by San Pedro, and we have, or maybe it was Sarah. San Pedro, I've been growing San Pedro cactuses as well. You grow it too. I've been growing them for the last handful of years, and they're decent size, but because they're inside half the year and then they go outside in the summer, they're not like super tall or anything. But I have not processed it yet, or we haven't consumed it yet. But I think this year we might be able to, because I think we have a big enough, couple big enough cactuses to be able to do it. But boy, I just love looking at San Pedro, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it's a 7-pointed star. That the
cool.
San Pedro cactus actually makes.
Okay, all the time, or does it vary, you think?
I think it's all the time.
Wow, that's awesome.
I don't quote me on that, but I'm almost positive. And you can even just look at it, when we are done here tonight. But it's like a 7-pointed star.
So Polymathing says, I had a few friends who were irresponsibly using DMT and mushrooms willy-nilly through the pandemic, and they were having existential crisis currently. And they are having existential crisis currently. Yeah, that's I bet,
believe it.
Yeah, I totally believe that too. And it's actually funny because we went through a lockdown too. Can't say we really paid attention to it.
No.
But I remember the first day of a real curfew in Portland or whatever. Mm-hmm. For some reason, I thought it made sense to do mushrooms too, which I don't usually do them at home.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
I usually wait until we're camping or we're at the beach or on a trip or something like that. But I tried it that night and I spent my whole entire experience just kind of I had to white knuckle through everything basically.
Yeah.
Where it was just kind of okay, wow, things are really different right now. People are freaking out. And the trippiest thing for me was I felt like we were good. I felt like we saw through a lot of the bullshit pretty immediately.
Yeah, we did.
But a lot of people around us didn't.
No.
So that was the trippiest part for us, was being hey, wait a second. I'm there's people who I would have assumed were going to be more skeptical and we're going to be a little more level-headed or whatever, and they weren't. And so that I feel like for me was almost the trippiest part. Was I knew we were solid, but it was people in our immediate vicinity who we have respect for.
Oh yeah.
They were kind of showing signs of being really freaked out and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of what I worked through that night, of feeling even more alone in a way. I felt like it was a lonely trip. I was just being wow, okay, we're going through this whole entire ordeal, and seemingly, I mean, we did have allies for sure, but there was just something about it where I kind of felt very isolated or something.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, that was an unprecedented time.
So I think I just honestly meditated and did yoga the whole entire night.
Yeah, probably for the best.
Because that's just what I needed. I just needed that just to process everything and just to kind of get back to my center or whatever. Instead, I thought I was going to chill and work and do I don't even know what I thought I was going to do, to be honest. But I thought I was just going to have a pleasurable, enjoyable experience, but it gave me what I needed, actually, to be honest.
And they always do.
Yeah.
And with mushrooms too, it's I mean, with any kind of psychedelic, it's like that. You kind of don't know, but it's all about the mindset going in, but set and setting, as they always say.
Right.
Matters.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
So let's see what's going on here. Yep. That'll happen for sure. Sarah says, I bought bad acid in Central Park and proceeded to lose my mind / bad trip. That's a bummer.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder, don't you have a little bit of evidence to suggest that some of the bad acid at Woodstock was actually intentional or no?
Oh, yes.
It was intentional, right?
Oh, yes. Yes, it was intentional.
Right.
That was actually seeded in to the festival. From research I've done, that it was that was part of the experiment of it in general. And then they had places people could go and whatever, trip tents. Okay, yeah, okay. 7 or 6 spines. Good to know.
San Pedro can have way more sides, but 7 is ideal in my. That's fucking cool. I forgot about that. That's really interesting.
I've also heard too that San Pedro is sun medicine, and that it's best consumed during the day for the most optimal trip. And it makes sense that it would be sun medicine. It's literally a cactus that thrives in the desert and really loves sun. So, but I don't know if Annie, if you have any experience knowing that, or if you've ever heard of that before, but that's one of the things that I've heard before.
Polymathing says DMT pens are very popular around Toronto. You can buy them everywhere, apparently. One guy went to Costa Rica and did San Pedro. Recently told me he invoked demons and is now reaching out to Christ.
Whoa.
Damn. I know. The demonic stuff is very interesting. I've been a graphic designer forever, and when I was working at Rain, it's an ad agency. I was a freelancer, but I would go in and do work or have meetings or whatever. But one of the other designers there, I think it was a mushroom trip, but he was telling me when he saw the devil. And he said it was like a devil in the woods, and he had a bunch of eyes, and it was the most terrifying thing he'd ever seen. And he knew he met him for real, and all that kind of stuff. And anyway, I thought that was pretty crazy, but I do like hearing those stories.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, and also too, just like people are bringing up, yeah, when you take these drugs, you're obviously opening up things. The veil is lifted, and so things can enter. And I think that's why too, when people are kind of just like willy-nilly doing it, or doing it as like a more for like a party thing, and it's not to say I've never taken mushrooms or something at a party or whatever, but when you're doing it and you don't have the intention of like using it responsibly, I think that's when you're more prone to open yourself up to more nefarious things that could come in and influence your trip even.
Totally. I think we could at some point, for some reason, the Grateful Dead came to mind as a potential talking point one of these days, because Michelle was into the Dead, and then symbolically there's some really interesting things going on with their imagery and stuff, and then their whole history too. And they used to be called the Warlocks, and they had the whole Wall of Sound thing, and I don't know, there's a lot of things going on there. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Ken Kesey and the Merry Pranksters and stuff,
and coming down the pipeline is going to be a 60s Laurel Canyon episode, and we talked about it the other day, but I'm just going to start preparing one, and then once I have it ready, that will be.
That's great. I love that.
That's going to be the episode, and we'll go into all sorts of places, and it might even be a two-parter because I have a feeling that we could go into some pretty good spaces.
Nicholas says, I'm watching this on my big screen. Hey, what's up? Love this topic, guys. I'm growing Salvia melissodora this year, sucking on the leaves in the garden and tripping.
Oh, nice. Whoa. Okay. I want to hear about your experience with it, Nicholas. That's cool.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Someone sent me a picture of a Symbolic Studies presentation on their big screen, and they're like having wine or something. They're like,
oh, I remember that.
I was like, what the hell? People watch me on big TVs? That's freaking weird. It's cool. I like it. I'm just teasing, but
no, it's cool. I mean, hey, that's
I just
awesome.
never expected that. I think it's funny.
Yeah. Yeah, the chat, dude, on fire tonight. Thanks, guys, for like contributing your stories and all the.
There are some really cool people here. Honestly.
Yeah, it's awesome. This is great. This is exactly why we started the show, so that we could kind of like get to know people a little bit better just through this means.
Huh. San Pedro is also to the hummingbird.
Maybe related to the hummingbird. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I'm so drawn to it. Could be.
Oh yeah, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yep, that's another good one.
Yeah, it's solid.
Yeah. Oh my God, the Merry Pranksters, that whole thing, dude. I mean, it's just so funny. The 60s had this weird. It was all just about like being a clown kind of thing, and then being annoying or something, because there's oh gosh, we could just go into it, but I think about,
we saw that documentary.
Yeah, we did. They showed it a handful of years ago. I remember going with our buddy, and he was, because he's Ken Kesey's local. He's from Oregon. His family's from Oregon, and actually his family owns freaking Nancy's Yogurt, which is a pretty big local chain, a yogurt company in Oregon anyway, and in the Pacific Northwest. Like Nancy's Yogurt you can get it in lots of grocery stores,
right?
But the Keseys own that. They have a farm and everything else. And
I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was part of his whole deal. And I think that's one of the reasons why they were even showing that documentary, because it was at a McMinimans, which we talked about McMinimans last episode, I think, or the episode before. There's just a connection to Oregon.
Right. Oh yeah, no, totally. There was even he wrote a movie, and I don't know it's not as popular as One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. But he wrote a movie. It's an Oregonian movie, and I think it has to do with lumberjacks and stuff as well. And it was shot in Oregon too. I don't know if you remember that part.
I can't
I'm
say
pretty
I
sure.
do.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure you're right with it, but yeah, interesting.
Yep, electric Kool-Aid acid test. That's
Yep.
it.
Definitely. Yeah. I really I think that the Grateful Dead was literally just like a CIA made band.
Right. Yep, we are Eminem. That's
we
for
are,
sure.
yeah. Oh yeah, 13 and 13. That's awesome. I like that.
Which is interesting too. So the 13th card in the Major Arcana is the Death card, ruled by Scorpio, and Scorpio's sigil is an M.
Ooh.
So
lots of
anyway,
M's going on. Triple M.
Just saying. Just
Triple
saying.
threat.
Gordy asks, have you guys seen animals in your trips? I personally, all of my trips that I've ever had, I've been very, I would say that I've never gone to, like, I've never crossed the threshold of just having wild visions of like tangible looking things and objects or like
hallucinations.
Yeah, I've never had hallucinations. Thank you. Most of my trips have been, I'm still in this reality, but everything is like distorted, or there's light trails, or the perspective is like really off.
Right.
Or my favorite thing, I love it when which it's been years, guys, but I'm not opposed to doing it again, but when like the sand, you're at the beach and the sand looks like it's breathing, or the ground looks like it's breathing, and you're like looking at it really close, and you're looking at it and it's just breathing, and it's just like, is it actually breathing or what? And then you're like looking at it and you're like, holy shit, it's freaking breathing. There's like, I'm sensing like the breath of like the earth or something.
You are. I think you really are.
Yeah. So that's fun.
I really do think it's breathing. And yes, the sand on the beach is always one of my favorite memories. Watching it scuttle, it like almost like scuttles and it moves like that. Yeah.
Right, definitely. Yeah, Grateful Dead, definitely a CIA up. I just heard recently though that the early Dead shows, I can't remember who told us this or where I learned it from. Maybe it was Regina actually.
Oh, the parking lot stuff?
That their parking lot scene was legit. That literally people would come, like kind of like farms, collective type farms, and people would bring homemade stuff, and that like it was like a farmer's market but for like deadheads and stuff.
Yeah, and even just in the that was more in the 80s.
Oh, okay, not back in the day.
And actually, I mean, back in the day, it could have been like that back in the day. But I know Regina had the personal experience of going in the 80s and it being like that. And I actually recently just found a documentary on YouTube that I bookmarked, and maybe I'll even watch it tonight. Is all about that scene specifically in that time frame, and so I'm very curious about it. But yeah, she said how cool it used to be, and that you could go there, and you like she wouldn't even go into the concerts; she would just go there for the parking lot.
I really want to see photos of this or video of this.
Yeah, I found a documentary on it.
Yeah,
and it's about that time frame, and so that's why I saved it, because I knew that I really want to get into that. And I'll just say too, it's just like. Even being at shows that have that feeling where you could just go and be in the parking lot and not even go in, and you felt like you had an experience. I mean, that's pretty cool. And I know Fish was like that. I wasn't a person, wasn't into Fish, but I did have a buddy in high school that was very into it, and he used to travel around and go. And I mean, it was the bee's knees for him for a while, but then also there's a lot of darkness there.
Oh yeah. Well, you should tell them what he says about deadheads.
Well, it wasn't him specifically, but I've just heard over the years to never trust a deadhead. Just because like there's a lot of weird drug stuff going on, a lot of stealing happening, a lot of times like Dan, I won't say his name. I almost just said his name, but it doesn't matter. But a good friend of mine, he got like left behind from people, and they're like they're like traveling across the country or some crap, and you're hanging with people that actually are all kind of just like a little bit out of their minds on drugs, so maybe forgot they were supposed to wait for you at the van or whatever, and then they take off, and then you're somewhere and you don't have a ride home or whatever. And so he kind of he saw both sides of it. He saw the really fun, awesome time at the festivals and this and that, and then kind of seen the back end not so fun, not so good aspects of it. And actually, one of the stories too I heard about dead shows, and gosh, what was it on? I mean, I almost want to say it was on Steve-O's podcast. He was interviewing someone, or it was like a short of Steve-O. And someone talking about how, like, if you were a drug dealer, you could go to these shows and obviously make a killing, but a lot of people got busted at these shows and went to jail for a long time. And the guy was talking about how, like, a lot of people, like, a lot of these deadheads ended up just like getting busted and going to jail. And
It's
so
perfect.
he was wondering too if it was some sort of sting operation too, to like pigeonhole people and get them and bust them. And it was like,
It's so perfect.
yeah, it is. It's like a setup, just like we're talking about. You know, it's like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
CIA
yeah.
thing.
Right,
So,
totally.
you know, you had undercover cops that were there, and they were in the parking lots and whatever. And then these people would get busted, and there it is. Then you got all these hippies in jail, going to jail for a long time.
So Annie says, for a while I made opium tea, bought boxes of decorative poppy pods,
Yeah.
ground up and used French press to make tea. I've always liked trying things. That's really cool. Michelle is interested.
I am, yeah. We grew some poppies last year, and I actually have an infused oil that's still infusing right now of the fresh of the poppies that I harvested, and so I'm excited to kind of decant that and go from there. But both of us have been interested. We tried to harvest the resin and stuff, but they were brand new poppies, like first year. I think it'd be better to grow them for a couple of years and then try and get some of the
Interesting. Bear Stan Osley. That sounds familiar, actually.
Yeah, Osley was a big acid
I think,
guy.
yeah, totally. I know. I'm pretty sure Jan Irvin.
Mm-hmm.
So, what I can't remember his show. Gnostic Media.
Oh,
I
that
think.
sounds familiar.
I'm pretty sure he used to be. He used to go on Joe Rogan and stuff, and I think he says that he was the first person to give him mushrooms or whatever. But I just think it's interesting. Bear is his first name, and then they have the Dancing Bears. The Grateful Dead have the Dancing Bears. That's one of their classic icons. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, Dancing Bears kind of reminds me of Ursa Major and Ursa Minor going around the pole star, dancing around the pole star, dancing around the pole.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that there might be some deep encodes in some of their artwork.
Oh no, there definitely is. There's a lot of Saturnian imagery in some of their on some of their album covers. A lot of sexual stuff too. A lot of subliminal sexual stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Probably is booming. I should maybe try something with the seeds. Actually, yeah.
Let's see what's going on here.
Yeah, this is fun. Oh my goodness. And one of the other things, we were going to talk about was because we were talking about the electro culture stuff and everything else. Modern Deadhead Wookie Wook. Interesting.
It's like a nickname for them.
Okay.
Yeah. He's right. Jake is right.
Oh, dude, Flat Earth hippie, Jerry Garcia, CIA. Jerry Garcia.
There you go.
Wow, interesting. Yeah, I like it. I'm into it.
Yeah. Sarah says she had friends addicted to the Dead, would listen to nothing else.
Yeah, and that was the whole thing with their wall of sound thing. They have a particular sound. And I'll say the sound of the Dead always puts me in more of like a loose time, have a good time sort of party mode feeling. I always get vibes of like Saturdays or something when I listen to the Dead. I don't know if anybody else has felt that or anything like that. But just something that I've noticed over the years, especially when I started diving deeper into the music of the 60s and then really looking at it more from like a mind control sort of aspect. I was like, whoa, the Dead has always made me feel that way. That's interesting. And then they're all about party. It's like life's a party, whatever, And so, yeah, anyway, just something I've noticed.
So Gordy mentions Red Ice Radio. Yeah, I believe it is still a thing, but they definitely took a right turn at some point with their content and all of that. But that was Red Ice was very influential to me years and years ago, for sure. And a lot of the people that we know locally, that was like one of these shows that like everybody listened to, and so we were all on the same page with whatever whatever they're putting out, and obviously their content has just changed over time or whatever. And so I would say Red Ice, and then Higher Side Chats was another big one for that group, and then Crow is a big one for that group too. But yeah, no, I have not listened to Red Ice Radio in a very, very long time. There's some Oregon connections too with I believe Lana as well. So let's see what else is going on here. Oh, what? Slick says young Artemis acolytes would crawl around like bears for first 7 years of initiation. What? Whoa. Okay. That's pretty wild. I'm going to screenshot this actually because I need to look into it later. That's fascinating, dude. You know what I like, man. he gets me. Slick gets me.
He does. Interesting. I'm seeing people coming out with mushrooms, penis envy mushrooms.
That's so funny, dude. That explains Michelle and I's relationship with music, basically.
It totally does, actually. Yeah.
I've never really cared for it. I don't understand the appeal. I never have. And then, yeah, it's just I think punk rock kind of and hardcore and metal and everything, it definitely steered me in a certain direction with music.
Yeah.
And maybe not always in the best of ways, too. We can talk about that some other time.
Yeah, that's all good. But, well, maybe even to segue from, even though love a good trip story, all that
talk
stuff.
About whatever you want.
But we were going to talk about essences. And because we were talking about the electroculture and how that's basically kind of, obviously there's an electric component, but you're working with the ether. You're working with the ether that's all around us. And so there's more of an energetic thing that comes from it. And so Mario brought up the idea of maybe relating that to something like flower essences or crystal essences. There's also feather essences. You can essentially make an essence out of almost anything, really. But essences being so much more of an energetic medicine, and but it's really potent, but it's very potent in a different way. It's like more of an etheric feeling. And I've worked a lot with essences, particularly flower essences over the years. And it really, they can bring on some profound healing and really bring up like very deep-seated things that specifically with trauma, I find they are really beneficial because they have an ability to kind of like tap into areas of the psyche or the heart or the emotions that you may scan over. And then particularly when anybody who's worked through trauma work or any kind of trauma, which pretty much everybody experiences trauma, but when you're working through those sort of times, you kind of go into survival mode a bit. And when you're in survival mode, you can kind of glaze over things very easily. And what I've found from personal experience and then also suggesting flower essences to people who are going through those harder times is that it kind of takes that glazed feeling away from you and it allows you to focus a little bit more on what's important. And usually what's important at those times is your own healing, the fact that you start to heal these things. And then as painful as healing can actually be, the essences kind of bring you closer to that. And then they like almost like remind you, they ground you a little bit. And, flowers of all kinds, all flowers have different aspects to them. And some flowers are better than others to bring on certain things. You can also work with essences though, when you're not working with trauma, to invoke certain, energies. So the first thing that comes to mind is trillium, the flower trillium, which anybody who has never seen it, it's a gorgeous flower. You can look it up. Trillium ovatum is the Latin name, but there's different types of trillium. So there's more than just Trillium ovatum, but that's the species that grows out here in the Pacific Northwest. It's a 3-petaled, 3-leaf flower that is just magnificent, and it has this beauty to it that it's stunning, it's striking, and it grows very slowly. If you look on like any endangered plant species lists, Trillium is usually there. And so you usually don't even want to harvest Trillium. But you can make an essence of it literally just by using distilled water in a clear glass bowl, and like literally just setting that next to the Trillium. Or like if you're lucky enough to find, maybe like a group of Trillium growing together, creating an essence that way with it. And the Trillium to me, harnesses a lot of maiden energy. So, if you're going through a time in life where you're trying to maybe you're going through the transitional time from, maiden to mother or whatever, almost like bringing the Trillium along with you for the ride to kind of almost like allow that transition to be more graceful. And then that joy of the maiden, naive is a way of saying it, but there's almost like a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed kind of like you're more naive, you're more inquisitive, you're more light on your feet sometimes even. And so Trillium really kind of comes through and brings that energy a lot. And so that's like the first one that comes to mind. But there's so many that you can make. And I've made a lot over the years. I've made crystal essences,
Right.
It's very beneficial medicine.
And just to say, I'm sure most people here know this, but the essence, to me, what's amazing about all of this, like seeing your journey with essences and like making stuff and using stuff and seeing the benefits of it, to me, it's always been intriguing because just I think there's a novel thing still thinking about how little you need in order for it to be effective.
Yeah.
Right. So even so much so that you can I've seen people create essences. Like we went to the Tarot Symposium.
Oh yeah.
And there was like a lady who had all of these essences. She had like dozens of essences. And there was a lot of like common ones, And then I was like, unicorn essence. I'm like, and then I asked her, I'm like, hey, wait a second. I'm like, how does she get unicorn anything to make this essence?
Right.
And so I asked her, I'm like, how did you make the unicorn essence? And she had a few other ones, I think like a dragon essence or whatever. And she's like, oh, well, I just write unicorn on a note, on a piece of paper, and then I wrap it around the bottle, and then there's that transference of energy.
Right.
As kind of has been part of the conversation lately, like on Interverse and stuff.
Yeah.
Specifically the Veda Austin, right?
Yes, with the water.
With the water and stuff, and that's been a thing for a while. People kind of understand that. But that too, in and of itself, there's something to be said about all of that because there is a real thing going on there. So if you need the healing benefits of blank plant, you could use a substitute that's not even like actually doesn't have any of the real properties of that physical plant, right?
Yeah. It just like writing it down. I mean,
like to me, that's just incredible and amazing. Like I'm not over that.
Yeah, no, I'm still not either. And it's one of those things too. It's all about intention. Just like as you come to learn in life, it's all about intention. It's all about mindset. So if you want to bring in the energy of the North Star, okay? You're not going to touch the North Star.
Now you've got my attention.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said it. You're not going to go up to the North Star and put a crystal bowl of water next to the North Star. But what you can do is have the intention to want to harness the energy of the North Star, and you can put it out at night and you could write, Polaris on it, or you can sit with it and envision the essence of Polaris going into the water. And, lo and behold, you're going to have an essence of Polaris, North Star, and that's your personal essence, and then you use it as you see fit or whatever. So,
okay. Yeah. So later you can watch that Grateful Dead documentary and then I'll make my Polaris essence. What do you think?
Ching. I think... Yeah, that's a good idea. We'll report back next week.
Yeah, next week for sure.
Yeah, no, that's a real deal. And it's just like, Topher's brought this up. Other people who talk about water, Veda herself included, just literally simply writing love and putting it on your bottle of water will bring in that essence, and it's all about intention, just like I said. And so I'll say, and maybe babe, you can type this in, because maybe we can type in the title.
What's
of this
up, Ben?
book too. Hey Ben.
Nice to see you, dude.
Don't tell me what I can't do. Nice. So if you're interested in learning more about flower essences, this is a really great book, Flower Essence Repertory. This is wonderful. It's a great reference book. Goes through tons of different flower essences, how to even make them, what they're really nice for, how you can pair them. And so this is a really great one. So yeah, maybe you can type it and put it in the chat so people could see it. But this was actually gifted to me. So it's a comprehensive selection guide for the natural health practitioner. And it really, really, really has helped me a lot to understand essences even better. And then also when I'm working with people, to be able to match a remedy for maybe what they're going through. Because even just as what I opened up to was environment. So when maybe you're out of sorts with your environment, maybe the environment around you is going through upheaval. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you're moving, maybe you're changing your environment. It literally has a whole list of the different essences that you can use for this. So example given, the one that stands out to me because it's such a invasive plant that can really bring on some not fun experiences. There's one for poison oak. And so I'll read this. So you could make an essence of poison oak but you wouldn't want to put the poison oak leaves in the water. You could maybe set this bowl of distilled water next to the poison oak.
Okay.
Carefully. And then you would have an essence of poison oak. But the essence of poison oak is for learning boundaries and limits between self and nature.
Ooh,
as well as
that's
with
cool.
Yep, as well as with others.
Wow.
When erecting negative boundaries through hostility. So I could see why poison oak is a boundary medicine. You don't want to fucking mess with that stuff. And so it's just, anyway, there's all sorts of the other page. So I'll read the other ones that I opened up to. So we opened up to environment, envy, erratic behavior, and escapism. So there are suggestions for flower essences for all of those things in this book. And then there's also, you can search also by the plant itself.
Wow.
So then they have a whole, I flipped to California poppy, which I talked about actually on Vibrant.
You did, yeah.
The last one. So, California poppy, California wild rose, calla lily, Canyon Dudley is another one. So this is a wonderful book. Anybody who's really interested in this.
Who's the author?
The author is published by the Flower Essence Society.
So this is right here.
Patricia Kaminsky
yes.
and Richard Katz.
So yes, Benna.
Yeah, great stuff.
You got it. I almost want you to read one more.
Okay.
Read one more.
I'll do a bibliomancy again.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Well, I kind of like the other section where it's going into like there's one that said escapism and environment and whatever.
Front.
To the front. Yeah. Those are short and sweet. Okay, maybe read. Okay, attention. That's kind of interesting.
Okay, so attention. All right, so, and we'll just pick. All right, we'll do two of them. All right, so pink monkey flower is good for attention. If you avoid social attention and want to hide or cover up, pink monkey flower might be right for you.
That's hilarious.
So think of that.
It's a pink monkey flower.
Right.
It's like it wants to be seen and it's silly.
And it's a monkey and it's like and
right.
You're trying to cover up. So it's just like it's the opposite.
Okay, before you read the next one.
Yeah.
One of the things on why I love the essence topic and why I like these types of remedies is because the bridge between symbolism and medicine is like it merges. It's much shorter. Everything is blurry. So here you can actually, it's always like this with everything, but it feels way more apparent when we're talking about flower essences and stuff and crystal essences. It's like the properties of the essence are going to be like what the function of the plant actually is and like what it does out in nature. And so you could almost just like, it's like a doctrine of signature sort of thing.
It is.
You know, where you can look at the plant, you can look at the tree, or you can look at the berry or whatever, and it's just like you can just decode. And I know there's lots of tricky things out there, so it's not like I'm encouraging people just to try anything willy-nilly or whatever, but you can kind of have an understanding about the plant and what it might do on an essence level if you just listen to the plant, right?
Yeah.
You know, so to me, that's just like incredible. It kind of reminds me, and I know it's not the end all be all, but that's for that reason, I appreciate German New Medicine stuff as well, because it's like it's taking symbolism. There's like a very practical use for symbolism. And so when you're looking at G&M conflicts and everything else, it's like, well, shit, that makes sense that you would have an ear issue because you heard something that was unpleasant, or you would have a some issue with your nose and with smelling or something like that because you smelled something. You had a conflict with something that you were smelling or whatever.
Right.
You know, and so to
or like
me,
something didn't smell right to you.
something didn't smell right to you, or a digestion issue because you had a hard time digesting information.
Yep.
You know, so to me, I love this stuff. I think it's really interesting, even though I haven't even like read any books on it or really even used essences myself. I'm sure I have over the years with you.
Yeah, but
I have an appreciation for what they're all about.
Yeah,
basically.
no, it's the real deal. It's very potent medicine, and
Wow.
that's the other thing too. What I love about the essences and what I've learned over the years with plant medicine in general is literally just the fact that these essences are made like homeopathic medicine, so they're diluted multiple times, and the higher the dilution, the stronger the medicine, which always just like kind of blows my mind and is so awesome. And that's how these essences work. And the other thing that I've come to learn about, as I talked about with essences being really great for just like really troubling times, really times where your attention is averted because you've had such a traumatic event happen to you, because they can like really ground you and bring you back and like allow you to remember what's important. Drop doses for traumatic experiences being super freaking profoundly strong.
Yeah.
And like even just a standard made tincture, sometimes taking one drop of a tincture can be more potent and more moving than taking a whole dropper full. The whole concept of less is more, and working with plants in that way and not being afraid to just literally take a drop. Or some other herbalists I've followed over the years who have talked about just literally having a sip of tea, a sip of an herbal tea, and that being enough to open something up or unlock something, whether it be a memory or a stored emotion or, whatever's going on.
I just have to say, the reason why this resonates with me too is for the same reason that subliminal messages and programming works. Because you don't need you don't want, if you're going to subliminally program people in advertising or in media or in films or whatever, you're not working with their conscious mind. It's like you are, but you aren't. You're working with their subconscious, so it's like your conscious mind is filtering through a lot of information. It's not going to pick up a lot of things, but your subconscious is going to pick up all of it.
Yeah.
So if you put subliminal screams of children in the audio track of a song in a movie, or if you're putting stuff in the background, or you're putting stuff, whatever, like in these classic ads in the ice, you're airbrushing skulls and spiders and demons in the ice. No one's going to see that consciously,
right?
But they're going to still pick up on it,
right?
So what does that tell you? As well, to me, it's like we're talking about kind of similar sciences in a way.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. I haven't never thought of that way.
Yeah. It's kind of subtle energy, basically, right?
Yeah, very subtle.
Yeah,
like some of them
gentle too with this stuff.
Yeah, and flower essences, crystal essences of all kinds, whatever, are great for animals. They are really great for animals, and so there's actually a very popular essence out there called Rescue Remedy, and it's made for humans too, and it's made by the Bach flower essence company, BACH. They're one of the OG flower essences companies, reputable, make really great essences. But they make something called Rescue Remedy, and you can get it for humans, and it's very effective. And they also make it for pets. And so it's really great for, if you're taking a pet that might be more on the anxious side, you're taking them on a trip or something, and you don't want to give them something like CBD or a tranquilizer or whatever, the Rescue Remedy is really, really awesome for that. And it really calms them down, and it works really quickly. I remember one time a story with Rescue Remedy helping me really well is so I went to the naturopathic college to have my ears cleaned. This was years ago.
I remember that.
Well, because I had something going on with my ear and it was like all plugged up. I couldn't hear anything. It was like painful. And I was just like, I don't know what the hell is going on. I went to the college because you could go there and you could just pay $50 and you could have the students will give you a little bit of a checkup or whatever, right? And so they're looking at my ear. They're like, well, it looks like it's just earwax. So I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. So they cleaned my ears out. And when they did that, I got super dizzy because it threw my equilibrium off. And my ears are super sensitive already, like super sensitive. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to pass out. And then right away, the first thing they did, they just gave me Rescue Remedy.
Oh.
And it totally worked. Like, because I was starting to get anxious because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to pass out. I'm like going to fall over. I'm all dizzy. Gave me the Rescue Remedy. And literally within like a minute, I was like, fine. I'm like laying there. I was like, all right, I feel okay. And okay. So people are,
people like Rescue
confirming
Remedy.
The Rescue Remedy. It's great. And it's actually pretty affordable.
If the Baldersons use Rescue Remedy, it's good stuff.
Nice. Yeah.
Hey, dude, I just want to say, Ben, since you're here in the chat, man, just thinking about you guys, wishing you the best of luck with everything. It sounds like there's going to be more weather stuff coming, if I gather what you're saying in the chat correctly. So anyways, just you guys are in our hearts for sure. And
big time.
We'll be sending you positive vibes.
Dry vibes.
Yes, very dry vibes. The driest of vibes, dude. For sure.
Oh my God, yes.
Just real quick, so I love this, Gabe. You said subtle informs the gross, Topher, 100%. And then also, Ben, very, very interesting stuff. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Emily Moyer has kind of talked about some of this, but they said that, they do this with things like sugar and drugs when they are liquid with the symbols in the tanks before it's crystallized, so it holds the information. I'm not sure if that's exactly what Emily got into, but that is freaking very powerful and interesting. I've heard the same thing with like back in the day, at least. There was a classic, let me see, I think his name maybe was John Todd. But this guy...
Oh, that sounds familiar. He's a music guy.
Yeah, this guy said that he worked in the music industry. I think, I could be mistaken, I think in the 70s or 60s maybe. And he was saying that they would do rituals with the gold record, the master record, that all of the other records are going to be made from. Mm-hmm. And he claimed, and I think he even worked for a company called like Zodiac Records or something.
Oh,
but he was...
That's a real label.
And that it's like that, I think that might be an imprint of a larger label or something.
Yeah, like a segment or whatever.
Yeah, like under the umbrella of a larger company.
Yeah.
And so he said that they would perform rituals on the master gold record that, again, all of the other records are going to be made from. And so they're just charging it with all of this energy. So then they know when some new Madonna record comes out or whatever, they're going to sell however many copies, but they're all going to have the energetic frequency of the original copy that it came from.
Wow.
Putting who knows what kind of spells on it or ritualistic things, on it. So yeah, exactly. So going back to what Slick said, subtle informs the gross. 100%, dude, all is mind. And so to me, it's like before anything physical, the world of thoughts and the world of archetypes and the world of symbols existed first. So like any object here, I think it's a complete idea.
Yeah.
It started off as an idea first before it became something tangible and material. That's just how it works, in my opinion, from what I gather with everything, which is why I think a lot of these things that we're talking about, why they're actually effective. So. Yeah.
And then, it trips me out thinking too of just like,
nice. That's what I thought.
Oh yeah. Cause I think, didn't you guys talk about salt, Ben? I remember you guys having a conversation about salt. And that being kind of linked to that whole thing. And then it reminds me again, Ben, of the salt mind, and that how it stores the memories, and that is like your epigenetic mind that has all the ancestral stuff in it. Brilliant. I love that rabbit hole so much because it makes so much freaking sense.
Right.
Undeniable. Right. I mean, really, when you really look at it. But it just makes me think of like these huge food companies and all these things. It's just like, yeah, the energy that's going into this stuff, or lack thereof, really. Lack of care, lack of everything. And as we've talked about before, small batch being like the best way to go, because typically when it's a small batch, the concentration of intention and energy is so strong that it's palpable.
Wow. Yeah. Guy on Crow worked in pharma, naming the drugs Zoloft, Paxil, etc. Talks about the sound / name frequency vibration dash intention that goes into those drugs. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. That's why, again, bringing things back to your own sustainability and your own sovereignty and doing things locally.
Mm-hmm.
You know where your food is coming from. You know where those eggs are coming from. And we have a lot of work to do on this level.
Oh, yeah.
So we're not where we want to be with it. But I have an understanding, though, that that's the only way to really ensure that what you're getting is what you think you're getting.
It's fucking true, man.
So it's like everything else. It's like, what else are they doing? I mean, it seems like everything in a major grocery store, why wouldn't they do this type of stuff to it?
No, definitely.
Why the naming conventions, the amount of psychology and the amount of money that's being given to like these like ad agencies and stuff, and they have psychologists on hire and everything else, and there's you're dealing with focus groups, and you're dealing with like a whole freaking industry where their whole agenda is knowing how to properly manipulate people for their bottom line. And so anyways, if doing some of these subtle energetic things in some way helps your bottom line, why wouldn't you do that?
Oh, they would, and they do. And yeah, exactly.
So let's see what's going on here in the chat a little bit.
But I wanted to ask, go ahead.
No, please.
It's a specific question for Ben, because since he wasn't here in the beginning.
Oh man, so Ben's saying it seems they were trying to drive us out. The main roads are literally sliding off the mountain.
Oh my God, dude. Whoa.
Wow.
So, I don't
know that much about the situation, but just confirmation whether or not. So it seems like he's saying that weather manipulation is like at play here.
I would not. I that's what I think, even from a distance.
That's what I think too. But I would love to hear, if you're still in the chat, dude, if that's your hunch, and you might even have some really concrete, solid sort of hunches about this.
Well, yeah, and you're in it, so it's just like if you're seeing shit in the sky that they're doing, yeah. I almost want to I almost want to do our call-in thing right now and bring Ben on.
Yeah, I know, right?
Because I always have tons of questions for Ben. But in the beginning of the show, we were talking about electroculture in the garden, using copper and brass to bring in the electrical magnetic energies of the ether into the garden, and having it be very beneficial for your crops. So you're one of the people I thought of when I was thinking about the structures I want to put into the garden this year. And anyway, I just wanted to get your opinion on it and see if you've worked with that at all. But yeah.
So he just says, I do the same thing. I put runes of joy and healing on my containers while my products are being made. Yeah, dude, exactly. It goes a long way.
It really does. Yeah. Oh, I love the essence. I love the, whatever. And as we talked about with our neighbor situation, when I had my final meeting with her, when we were, just finalizing the boundaries and everything, I drew runes all over my body. I drew the runes all over my body, and I invoked the runes for that conversation, because I knew I was going to have to really stand in my ground, stand in my power, and not allow things to jar me. And the runes are always good for that.
We have had 6 atmospheric rivers hit us in 2 weeks, including a literal water cyclone 2 times.
Whoa.
Freaking crazy, dude. Yes, you for sure. Jared wants you to do a show on that this week. You really should, man. Honestly, for a few different reasons. if you feel comfortable talking about it.
On
which
the
I'm
weather
assuming
manipulation stuff?
just what's going on there.
Oh,
I
God,
think, and
yes.
probably some of that. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great. Because even Mario's family, too, I mean, they were getting hella rain in Fresno. And then I know Flat Earth Hippie, I know Hank is down there in near well, they're in Corning. You guys are still in Corning, right? Yeah, and I know that you guys have been having some kooky stuff too.
He said he has some serious thoughts on it. I think a diamond is the shape, the top being copper, the bottom being iron. I think the top needs electric and the bottom magnetic. Okay.
Okay, that kind of confirms too some other things that I saw was people using grids of like iron mesh below the bed, and then using the copper above ground as well. So, okay, cool. Yeah, gotcha. Plant should be in the center.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we're doing too is that we're identifying the sacred center of our property.
Yes.
So we're identifying a sacred center. Turns out it's just like the perfect spot to have a little garden as well. And we kind of clean up that area today, and we have some ideas on how to ritualize it and kind of put good juju there. And then that it kind of emanates out from there to the rest of the property. And then also we're identifying the sacred center of our actual garden too.
Yes.
And that I think that that's always kind of, at least for me, it just makes sense that on every level, you want to know where the center is, right?
Yeah.
And so of your home, of your property, if you have a garden, spacious garden, identifying the sacred center and kind of doing something with that, I think can kind of go a long way too. To me, it makes sense, at least.
It makes a lot of sense, and it makes me also too, with the property, want to look into some more of the ley lines that are on the property specifically, because there's certain areas of the property that are very potent, and there's an area where there's a convergence of ley lines that I go to often. And when I make compost tea, when I mix up my fish fertilizers and all that stuff, I always put it in that area. And we have a wind chime that's there. But our landlord told us that when we moved in, that was a convergent point, and it is very strong there. And we live in the center of 3 different mountains. So our property's in the center of Mount Adams, Mount Hood, and Mount St. Helens. And so there's a lot of converging ley lines on the property. And so incorporating that and with like gateways and where the garden gates are and stuff has been something I've thought about as well.
Right. Totally.
So anyway.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
No.
It's cool.
Can't forget that.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff to always think about. And I just think about how much the more people talk about this stuff and the more it encourages other people to do it, and just thinking about having like multiple people throughout, thinking about like a whole community that would base their stuff on this,
right,
is just it makes me happy to think about.
right. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
When I was in India, I don't know if you remember the place called Oroville.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it was like an intentional community, and they had a huge, big, spherical temple in the middle of their situation, and everything kind of like emanated out from there, and like all the roads kind of led there. And it was really, really cool, actually. Yeah. And so I don't know. I think kind of ritualizing that sacred center kind of access point is really important and makes a lot of sense.
Didn't the dome kind of look like what's that?
It was like golden.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like Epcot a little bit.
Epcot, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
it
was like a golden Epcot kind of looking thing, more circular though.
Okay.
Yeah, the parts that kind of made up each individual, almost like it was like covered in scales, like golden scales or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
What if Epcot in Disney? What if that's their sacred center of Disney, and they know that shit?
They do.
Right. So no, that would be interesting to look
because
at.
Where Disney is at in Florida, I talked to Juan. Juan's from Florida, and I'm pretty sure Gabe, maybe you were there too. But yeah, I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, Disney World is like in the middle of Florida, and obviously Florida looks the way it looks.
Right. It's in Orlando, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and so it looks the way it looks, so it's very easy to imagine Florida as like its own deal. right? Separate from the rest of the country in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the signs to me are pointing to the fact that they were well aware that they were putting it right in the middle of the state, potentially for some of these purposes, creating a sacred center sort of location that kind of emanates throughout the rest of the land or throughout the rest of the region or what have you. Because it's like smack dab, like right in the middle of Florida.
Yeah.
So to me, given what it's all about, given who worked on it, all of these things, that was a chosen place for it, basically. And who knows? Because I think it's a possibility that back in the day, that there may have been another sacred center thing right there in the same place, and that maybe they just built over it, you know. So that's one of the things you're going to find or just like the mound gritters. Do you remember all that stuff?
Vaguely.
So people,
or like using the mounds as,
yeah, like using like Native American mounds.
Yes.
And then the forefathers apparently, which the whole history is all fucked, and I don't claim to understand even real American history, to be honest. But from what I gather is that there were lots of sacred mounds around the country, and that they were Native American. Some of them were burial mounds, but they were like sacred center locations, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so that a lot of these places were taken over by like our forefathers, and they built their homes on there, and then they built like different like monuments and stuff, and were turned into different things. But there's a history of that actual specific node, that actual location, of people revering that specific place. And so a lot of these sacred center locations have been intact for like a long time, and that they kind of have like changed hands over time too.
Well, and then I mean, I can't not think about Ross Ben when we talk about mounds.
Yeah, because he had his presentation about
yeah,
it and
free your
stuff.
mound. Is what he called it.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. It was a great presentation. We actually got to see him do it. But one of the things he talked about, because he's into the Mystic Philly stuff, he was talking about how, like, you know, when you go to like the government buildings of major cities, Capitol buildings, city monuments, all this stuff, they're either on mounds or they're on ley lines, and it's for a reason. And so then you have all of these people visiting these places from, you know, they're going on vacation. Oh, you go see the fucking city monument. You go see all of these things. And it's being charged every time people go there. And the attention, you know, energy flows where attention goes. So it's like the attention, they're like being charged constantly. And then one of the things I remember when I was really, really researching Mount Shasta back in the day, and looking into all of that, and how Madame Blavatsky and some of the other people that she was hooked up with had a huge connection with Shasta, and the ley lines from Shasta to Chico, California, like the actual city monuments of Chico. There's some powerful stuff that they were doing there. And that always sticks out to me whenever this subject comes up as well, because they had something going on there. There's another city too that was connected to it. And for a while there, it was a guy on YouTube that was he did really great research and put out really nice videos about all this stuff. I don't remember his name now. This was years ago when I was into all this stuff, looking into it deeply. But anyway, he went to all these places. Like he would go there. Yeah, and he would report on it, and he would be able to just like pinpoint certain things, and he followed the ley lines that they were, you know,
totally
connecting.
Yeah. That's something we could explore at some point for sure.
It's a good one.
Slick is saying Florida is Osiris's phallus. ISIS tossed it in the Mississippi, then the red tide washed it out to its current location. Interesting. Yeah, dude, exactly. And there's even there's like an old Bugs Bunny cartoon, and he's literally like sawing off Florida. Like he's on a map, and then he's like sawing Florida off. And I remember thinking about the whole phallic thing with that.
Yeah, Florida's so interesting.
I know. God. We got to go.
Yeah, we do.
Let's see here.
I was there when I was very young. And then I went there during high school one time to Destin, Florida, which is on the panhandle part. It's really pretty there, though. White sand beaches and stuff.
I love love it. Ben's talking about just how he used to do his show, and he was saying that for the first, I don't know how many years, he said, Karen B found out I did my entire show and every interview on an iPhone I've had for over 6 years, and she laughed her ass off.
Well, I can remember seeing some of your interviews, Ben, and you were in your car, you were in your truck.
That's what he was just saying.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He
I
just
remember
said
that.
And he said, back in my day, or back in the day, I even had to drive 40 minutes to get a signal, and all my shows were in my truck.
Yep,
Lol.
I remember that.
That's awesome, dude.
One time you opened an interview and someone said, "How you doing?" You said, looking California, or what did you say? Looking Minnesota, feeling California, freaking Soundgarden quote. And I was like, yeah.
Nice.
Love this guy.
What I was going to say regarding Madame Blavatsky, though, is so it's interesting that he was making all those connections with Blavatsky and then California stuff and Shasta and whatever. But she's a Russian author. She's from Russia.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And so the Russian bear, and how symbolically Russia has been tied to being like this great bear, right? That you don't want to wake up or you don't want to mess with and everything else. And then the California flag has the bear on it.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yep, totally.
And then what's his name? I'm going to forget his name, but there's a guy who wrote a book called Beyond the North Wind. That was the last book that we read for our little book club in person.
Yep.
He has a follow-up book called Occult Russia. And what he's saying, if you guys haven't heard, he was on Aeon Byte maybe like a month or two ago. And I have not read the book, but he was saying that his Beyond the North Wind book, which in it he talks a little bit about Russia, but he doesn't go into it super in depth. But he says that Russia has a very strong northern polar tradition, where like a lot of people there believe that they came from the north and everything.
That makes sense to me.
And that it's literally a current over there, and there's like several like sects of like people that have like this northern cosmological sort of foundation. I just have to say, the Russian bear, the bears, Ursa Major and Ursa Minor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then the Russians are always wrestling bears and shit. And
yeah, they are. Yeah.
I
can't get enough of it.
I just had a thought. Oh, well, maybe what if that's one of the reasons why Russia is like demonized and stuff.
Oh, dude. Well, yes.
Yeah.
Honestly, if people have a northern tradition and a northern cosmological framework, they get demonized. I'm pretty convinced of that now.
Yeah.
That is partly the deal, is that because there are too many benefits. It's too holistic, in my opinion, for people. And so, yes, you're right. From our perspective, the people that have the strongest northern traditions are demonized.
Yeah.
That seems to be the deal from what I'm picking up with everything.
Wow. Damn.
So let's see what's going on here. Sarah's right. It is fun to say Blavatsky.
It is.
I agree. Cool. And some people, or I think it was Benna, saying that she's familiar with Orville. That's interesting.
Oh, in India. Yeah.
Yeah. Southern India. Yeah. He does. Miguel has the best voice for occult podcasting, for sure. That's why when I heard, because I don't think he always offered it, unless I'm mistaken, but when I heard that he was starting to offer voiceover services and stuff, I was like, ding, ding, ding. That's the way to go, dude. You have an awesome voice.
Yeah, he does. I love just listening to his intros and stuff, and God, he's awesome. I know we do need a call-in line right now. I wonder, how can we do that?
Gabe is saying, I'm cooking a huge weave on Blavatsky. It relates to what you're saying, Mario. Nice, dude. I'm stoked.
Good.
Very, very interesting. Yeah, I mean, even I'll just say, just to talk about Blavatsky for a second.
Yeah.
So she talks about the root races. This is and maybe this might be part of your weave, Slick, I don't know. But in The Secret Doctrine, or maybe the ISIS, no, it's not the ISIS thesis. It's ISIS Unveiled is another book of hers. She wrote a ton. But in The Secret Doctrine, they go through the whole root race business about the root races and the migration of people and like early human history and things like that. And it blew my mind, dude. Recently, a friend sent me a video, which I've looked at the root race material before, but I never like dove into it like that deeply in recent years. Dude, the first race were called the Polarians or the Polar people during the Polar or Polarian epoch, which, dude, polar people. And so I'm like, holy shit. She's saying that the original race of people literally were called the Polarians. And that
Wow.
just blew my mind. And I guess the whole thing about it is it's partly what Chance and
Hmm.
Topher, I believe, were talking about at one point. But it's this idea that our aura is like an egg. And that so we're like egg people. I mean, look at my head. And so it's just like we're like egg people. And so we have an aura that's egg shaped and it's toroidal, in my opinion. And I'm not even going to open up that can of worms because I have new thoughts about our toroidal fields because it seems as though we have at least two, one going vertically up and down and another actually going horizontally,
That makes sense to
and
me.
that it's called the assemblage point. And so there's diagrams you can look into with all this stuff, but it makes a lot of sense. And so anyways, so because there's diagrams of both, that we have a vertical toroidal field and a horizontal one. And I'm like, do we just have two? You know, it almost kind of makes sense, almost like a cross or something, or whatever. But anyway, so we our auras are a egg-like shape, and that humanity started off just like what you were saying. The subtle informs the gross. Our subtle energy as people, as humans, way back in the day, we looked our only our auras existed basically, and so there was a period of time, according to this line of research, where humanity, we were just auras. We had not taken physical form yet. But over, I don't even know how long of time, to be honest, but over, huge amounts of time, I'm assuming that eventually our form became developed. And so our form is what we look like, but we still have our auras around us. We still have egg-like auras. So when you imagine it, we are literally just kind of like a pole within an egg.
Mm.
That's why we're p-pole. And that's why polarity is such a big deal. And so we are literally kind of like the manifestation of an egg. That we are like the very center of our aura literally is what you see before you. And so that's why my understanding that the first people ever, at least according to Blavatsky and her work, were the polar people, were the polar race or the Polarian people.
Wow.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, that is wild.
And so Slick or anyone else, I would love to know what you guys think about that because it's pretty crazy.
Wow.
So let me see.
Damn. Well, and we come from an egg.
Yeah, that's why cosmic egg symbolism and toroidal symbolism and whatever is just it's huge.
Yeah, yeah.
You guys need to call in line so bad right now.
That's what I'm saying. I know. I was like, wow, how can we do that right now? Is that even possible?
It could be. I mean, if he's really serious about wanting to chat,
I guess we could just send him the link to.
Yeah.
Is that how it works?
hey Gabe, if you're really interested in kind of talking about some of this stuff and weaving it out for a few, let us know and I can send you a invite link on Telegram. But if not, if you want to save it,
Yeah, you can save it too. We could even do it next week. If
we
you
could
want.
do it next week.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or
That's
some
totally
other time
cool.
or whatever.
Or
And there's honestly, there's several people in this chat
Oh,
that
yeah.
I would love to have on at some point.
That's
and
why-
just chill with us and whatever.
Yeah, and we're already going. We're already 8:30. So,
True.
but we could keep going. But yeah, maybe we can plan it and do that.
Right.
I'm seeing a lot of song references in here. I like it. Yeah, Bob Marley did make a song about Rat Race. Walrus, yes.
Just reading the comments here.
Nice.
Okay, nice. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah. So, the polar stuff, I know I'm a nerd for it. It has legs. The legs are very, very, it has roots, I guess I'll say.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I just think that you almost can't, you can deny it, but I think like at some point
Ooh, one energy is electric and one is magnetic playing off each other.
makes sense.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Dr. Randolph Stone. And then Rudolph Steiner, all polar guys. Sweet. Yeah.
Yep.
Also screenshotting this. Dude, there's so much information I need to dive into with this. Because I know that there's a greater history here, and there's more people who back this up maybe than you would initially think. Hail Poland. Yeah, exactly. Poland, right?
That's right.
Is that interesting?
Polak here. Part Polak.
No, she is. I'm cool with it. I like it, actually. Nice. Okay, cool. Slick says he can wait. Nice. All right, right
Okay.
on. Let's wait, dude.
Yeah. Because that'll be fun. As we said, yeah, we want to have multiple people on. It'd be fun to do a round table, last Thursday round table.
Yeah. I think by next time we do this, let's just say it. Next time we'll have a call-in thing or like an open line thing.
Yes,
or whatever.
We'll have that next week.
So next Thursday, if you guys want to chime in on something, have a weave sesh or whatever, we'll open it up.
Yeah, let's do it.
And I don't know exactly what that's going to look like, how many people or whatever, but I think we should just go for it.
I think so too, and I think it'll be fun because I think the cool thing is that there are things that come up in the chat, and it's like, oh, I know that they would throw down right now. So anyway,
right. Yeah, Davin, I told you in the Telegram, I got this book, so I definitely will read it because I'm very curious to hear about, the stellar, lunar, solar business and his interpretation of all of that. So 100%. Yeah, every chakra, major and minor, all toroids. Yeah, I mean, it just seems like we live in a toroidal sort of construct.
Oh yeah, I think so. And we are. I mean, we are a toroid. Our hearts are toroids. We put off that energy, in my opinion, and I think that there's something definitely to it. Which also, again, back to the theme. That's why electroculture works. Yeah, it's a real deal.
Right. Yes, exactly. Nice. Voice messaging would be way fun. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I might as well just set that up too. So if people want to leave a voicemail, they can call, leave a voicemail, leave whatever thoughts they want to leave. If people would rather join and do it live, then that's cool too. So maybe this weekend I'll set up a Telegram or something for people to leave voicemails or a phone number. Awesome. Cool. It's all toroids, man. I know, dude.
It is.
For sure.
Yep. So true.
Poles are fire.
Nice.
Cool. Flat Earth Hippie wants to talk about California weather, perhaps. Yeah, man. We're open to talking about all sorts of things.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I mean, it's been super freaking crazy. I mean, just seeing, I've been following it, some of it on the news of just like what they're putting out there and saying, and it's wild.
Yeah, to say the least. Hey, dude.
Hi, Carl. What you doing? What are you doing?
So what do you think, baby? 2.5 hours. I think that's been our longest last Thursday so far.
I think so. Yeah, that's a pretty good time. Carl's here now, and yeah, he's ready to hang out, I'm sure. Are you ready to hang out, dude?
Oh, yeah, he is.
Yeah.
I can sense it. Cool, guys.
Yeah, whoop. Thanks, Chris. Yep.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah, dude.
Waited in line for like 40 minutes for this hoodie at the show.
She did.
But the first time we saw Hailung, which was, it was January 2020. It was my birthday.
It's really funny. The first time we saw Hailung was right when the pandemic stuff was going on.
Yep.
And then shows were obviously they ceased for most of the country. For us, they did at least. And then we literally didn't go to a show for several 2 years,
whatever, 3 years.
And then the first show we saw was Hailung. So it was like the last show before the pandemic, and then our first show post.
Yeah, and I'm a hoodie girl, so I love hoodies. And the first show, I was like, I am not standing in that line. And then I kind of regretted it, and I wished I would have. And then so for the last show that we went to see them at, I was like, yep, I'll wait in line. It's cool. And I'm glad I did, because they are one of my all-time favorites.
Totally. Yeah, they're awesome. Right on. Well, let's land this plane here.
Aw, dude, Carl came to say hi to everybody. He was stoked on the cat episode the other night.
All right, we got some slides to go over, and let me just full screen it here. I can do this, and then I can do that. All right. Once again, dudes, you guys, thank you so much for hanging out. This is so much fun. I look forward to it. And we will see you next week on Thursday. But before that, we have to announce. We already announced it, though.
Yeah, but next week on the Healing Home, Gordy Two Shoes coming on to talk all things owls, mystical, animal connections, desert connections, wherever we feel like going, we'll go there. And so that's going to be on the 21st, next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Yes.
So that's cool. And then also, I just want to say, I think it's funny. I mean, it's right on the equinox, but Two Shoes, it just reminds me of Pisces stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Because Pisces corresponds with the feet and everything else. So I don't know if you've ever thought about that, Gordy, but that's kind of interesting. And then if you want to support, patreon.com/thehealinghome. It would be very much appreciated. And then if you want to support Symbolic Studies, patreon.com/Symbolic Studies if you're so inclined.
We really should put your Patreon up there as well.
Yeah, we could. We will.
Yeah, there's the menu for anybody who's interested of what's going on with my products. So you can contact me. You can just email me. That's the best way to contact me if you're interested in purchasing anything, because I don't have an online shop. But yeah, so you can just email me. I'm going to be making a fresh batch of CBD whip body butter this week, probably tomorrow or Sunday I'll be making it. So I will have that again in stock, and that stuff's fabulous. Mario loves it.
I'm not even like a guy, like I don't really put on lotions or anything like that, but that CBD whip body butter is awesome. I love everything about it, honestly. I love the texture. I love the way it makes me feel. I don't know. Seriously, as a moisturizer, like that is my go-to. Of all the things that we have around, that's what I'm into.
Well, and you've been saying how good it is for your beard. You like it for your beard. Totally. So it duels as like a beard balm or whatever you want to say.
Right.
Yeah.
As she was saying, michelleshealinghome@gmail.com if you want to message her and buy some of her products. People get kind of confused. So she is like, you have to contact Michelle directly to get anything.
Yeah.
So she doesn't have a store. And that's how we like it, actually.
I really like
we've done it the other way. We've done it the other way. Michelle has actually been in multiple shops with her products back in Portland, and we just prefer this sort of methodology. I think it kind of works with our speed a little bit more.
Yeah, it's so much more in tune of how I like to do things.
And it's all small batch, made with love. But michelleshealinghome@gmail.com, michelleshealinghome.com, or you can text her 503-568-1569. That also goes to for consultations and anything else.
Yep,
if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Yeah. Snail mail. If you guys ever want to send us anything, you can do so at P.O. Box 930, Carson, Washington 98610. I just re-upped for another 3 months. And so anyways, I just got that email today. So we are current and up to date with that.
We've paid our penance to the postman.
Yes, indeed. Nice. Thank you, Nicholas, saying that he loves Michelle's products.
Yeah, Nick, you've been a super great supporter.
Yeah, definitely, man. We appreciate it. And then Gordy's saying that he's into the CBD balm.
Oh, yes. You got the CBD root white willow bark. Yeah, that stuff is excellent. I really love it, too. Big hug, Slick. Thank you for hanging out.
Yep. Much love, dude.
Yeah, much love to you all.
And then you can find my stuff at symbolicstudies.com. So study packets. I have prints available. I'm available for tarot readings and consultations. Study sessions is what I usually call them. And then also design work, too. That's something I'm kind of making people aware of. And the response has been really cool with the people who have reached out wanting to collaborate and stuff. So really exciting stuff in the pipeline. So yeah, symbolicstudies.com is how you can reach me. And then tomorrow, at long last, I'm going to do my Esoteric Pisces presentation. So I originally was going to do it last week. I held off. Definitely doing it tomorrow. It's going to be a good one. I'm really excited to share some of the new insights and stuff that I've been, I don't know, just kind of mulling over recently regarding Pisces.
What time are you going to do it?
So I think it's going to be the same time as what we started with today. So 6 p.m. tomorrow.
There you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
So check that out. And let's do one final sort of look at the chat. What do you say?
Sure.
See what's going on. Cool. Oh, Jake says, try the salt soaps. Yeah, dude, those are awesome. And she just made new soap recently, too.
Yeah, I haven't made a new batch of salt soap, but I'm going to be making that within the next couple weeks. So I'll have more salt soap probably in about 6 weeks that'll be ready to go.
Yeah. Thank you, Sarah, for being here once again. You're awesome. And I know you asked for a duet earlier. I don't know if it's in the cards for today. But maybe at some point. We'll see.
I'm down for a duet.
Uh-oh. Gosh. Jeez.
See, I'll challenge him.
She will. What else is new, I guess, right? All right, guys. Until next time, you guys have a lovely Friday. I'll see some of you probably tomorrow evening. And until next time.
All right. Good night, y'all. Thank you so much. We love you guys.
Yep. Love you guys. See ya.
All right. Bye.
Bye.